so many people here. My name is Mark Cox. I am the president of the Residential Student Organization and one of the sponsors of this program, and I am the moderator for tonight. Tonight is about listening. All right, tonight is about listening to everything that the students may have on campus, any concerns, anything. What I'm going to say to the students before we begin is that this is not to berate or attack the administration. This is just for them to be able to sit, listen, and take notes. And then they will convene and they will get recommendations, they will get all of our ideas. They are not here to start answering questions. They are here to listen to you. All right? So first, I'm going to start off with Jerica so that we can get this started.
Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing today? All right, so I think we should all just start off by just getting a ground state on the foundation, like starting off before we start building up into what we're really talking about. So I'm going to start off with a couple of definitions. My first definition is of the word diversity. Diversity is described as the inclusion of individuals representing more than one national origin, color, religion, socioeconomic stratum, sexual orientation, and etc. Inclusion, according to sociology, is the provision of certain rights to all individuals and groups in society, such as employment, adequate housing, healthcare, education, training, and etc. The next definition is of the word dialogue. Dialogue is an exchange of ideas or opinions on a particular issue, especially political and religious issues, with the view for reaching agreement or settlement. It's a conversation between two or more people. Humanity is the human race. It includes everyone on earth. It's a word that describes the qualities of being a human. It's the quality of being humane. If you didn't know, I have a couple qualities of being a human, which include empathy, which is the ability to understand and share feelings of one another. Courage. Courage is not being deterred by pain, danger, being brave. Passion. Passion is the intense desire or enthusiasm for something. Persuasiveness. Persuasiveness is the ability to persuade someone to a different belief or into doing something through reasoning and the use of temptation. Listening. Listening is taking notice of and acting on what someone says and then responding to advice and a request. Self-awareness is having conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. Honesty. Honesty is the quality of being honest or free of deceit and untruthfulness, being sincere. Intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. Creativity. Creativity is the use of imagination or original ideas, especially in production of artistic works. Wholeheartedness. Wholeheartedness is showing or characterized by complete sincerity and commitment. Learning. Learning is the acquisition of knowledge or skills through experience, study, or being taught. Responsibility. Capable of being trusted. Leadership. Leadership is the action of leading a group of people or an organization. finally, integrity. Integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles and moral uprightness. What these different words mean to me is, what do humans mean to each other? How do we interact with each other, and how do we find solutions to the problems that we all face? To do that, I think we need to be on one level, and we're not looking at each other like people of power versus people without power, administration versus students, students versus staff, staff versus faculty. So with that being said, I would like everyone to do me a favor. Please stand up. Something else. Please move around the room to sit beside two people that you are not sitting beside right now. From vulnerability, we have the ability to move forward and to be different, because if you're in your comfort zone, there's no room for movement. A couple mottos that we have as a school, particularly in athletics, is one nation, make a statement, and it's on us. I think we as a college need to start thinking about what we're putting out to the general population and what we're pushing to our students. If we are one nation, why are we so segregated? If we want to make a statement and we push making statements, how come no one is talking? If it's all on us, why are we still working separately? It's on us. It's not on me. It's not on you. It's not on administration, it's not on the students themselves, it's not on faculty, it's not on staff, it's on us. So, I have a question. If a student is battling with racial discrimination, who do they turn to? Do they go to administration? Is there a person set just for that kind of thing? Who do they turn to? Who do they tell their stories to, or something to be changed? You can't just go tell your teacher and the teacher magically fixes it. You can't tell administration because they most likely aren't on the level as to being able to know everything and know how to fix it. It's on us as a whole. And it's not just race, it's racial discrimination, religious, sexual orientation. We need to learn how to push respect. We need to know that safety is a campus-wide issue. Comfort is what makes people stay. You can't keep people out of school where they don't feel safe, where they don't feel comfortable, where they don't feel like they're being heard. The image of the school. People's ability to be heard affects recruitment, the image, and the reputation of the school. If I don't feel like I'm being heard, I will not stay. That affects the retention of your students. If students aren't staying, that affects the recruitment because they see the retention is going down, so nobody wants to go here if nobody is already here. I want to see more people like me. I want my teacher to look like me. I want to know that there is somebody in higher education that made it through what I'm going through now. If all of the teachers on the campus are white men, then I don't see anybody I can relate to. So I don't want to stay, so I'm not going to tell anybody else to stay. Recruitment, retention, image, reputation. So with that being said, I will now tell you my story. My story is a response to the panel we had last week, which pretty much brought this whole thing about. I felt as though while I was sitting listening to the panel, I felt like the questions were being answered with arrogance, dismissiveness, and disrespect. If I feel like I'm not being heard, I will no longer talk. It was said that the panel provided factual information. In my opinion, and in most people's opinion, emotions and experiences are factual. If it happened to me, that means it happened. If it happened, it's happening. I'm not the only one that's dealing with something. Campus safety was the focus of the panel. If I'm being discriminated against, that's a campus safety issue. If I'm being oppressed, that's a campus safety issue. If I don't feel safe, that is a campus safety issue. I matter, everyone else matters. If I don't feel safe, I'm not staying, I'm not coming back. There were derogatory comments said one night. I don't need a general term. Tell me what was said. What happened when there were townies terrorizing the school? People of color were called monkeys. Monkeys aren't allowed here. There was a note in the freshman dorm that said, niggers aren't welcome here. Niggers. People don't say that no more, right? Because racism doesn't exist. It does. It's in society. It's in the United States. It's in LC. If it's happening here, it's happening everywhere. I refuse to continue to pay $46,000 a year to not be heard, to feel unwanted, to feel in danger. I refuse to pay $46,000 a year to be scared to speak. It kind of makes sense when people say you sold your soul to the devil, at least you both got some out of it, right? I refuse to pay for my silence. I refuse to pay to be not heard. I refuse to pay to be scared. And speaking is scary. I'm scared right now. My hand is shaking. My voice is shaking. I'm kind of tearing up, and I don't like crying in front of people. But I will not be silent. I will be heard, and I will not let anyone else stop me from talking, because I have a voice. I don't need to write my questions down on a card. I don't need you to shift through them. I don't need you to edit my voice. I have my own. I can speak for myself. Everyone talks about heroes. Being a hero is going against an oppressive, dismissive institution. To be a hero, you are being a deviant. Deviance is the act of defying the dominant group. Me standing here telling my story, telling that I don't feel safe, I'm being deviant. Sorry. There is one chance for you to stand up and speak for something that's wrong. One chance in life. This was mine, and I'm not going to let it pass me by. I'm not going to let students come here knowing that I don't feel safe, so they probably won't either. This is my legacy. Safety on campus will be my legacy. People being heard will be my legacy. So I challenge everyone here tonight. If you have a story, say it. If you don't feel like something's going right, say it. Come out, speak out, be heard. make a statement, because we are one nation, and it's all on us. Let's act out what we've been preaching to the athletic department. Let's act out what we've been preaching to the students. Let's act out what we've been putting on social media, what we get awards for being so inclusive and diverse. Let's speak out for the 23% of the population at LC that are minorities. 23%. 20 out of 100. 2 out of 10. 1 out of 5. 1/5 of our school is a minority. Anybody ever heard of the 3% compromise? It seems like we were doing better back then, right? But nobody's saying anything out loud, so it's not impressive. So, come out, speak out, be heard. Thank you.
All right, next up is Reese with her story.
Hola. I'm in Spanish, y'all, by the way. Dang, Jared, what was okay. Well, my first week here wasn't very great. I had a rocky road getting here, then a rockier road being here. So I'm going to tell y'all my story. I actually wrote it up because I already spoke to the people about it, but they don't. But I want to let you guys know how I felt at this moment. Lynchburg is known for its parties or whatever. So I kind of went out with some friends and didn't do anything, just being a college student, of course. And let's just read the article of what I wrote. As a student of Lynchburg College, I am disgusted with the actions of the Lynchburg Police Department. For an officer to have his first matters of concern to talk mess to students that are empowered made all the students surrounded by him feel unsafe. This officer was African American. While walking up to the group of students, he was tapping the side of his belt. Hearing the sound click, click, click isn't the sound you kind of want to hear when you're out with your friends. His first apparent line of concern was to intimidate the students on the campus, and that was very obvious. It was very obvious. His first statement was, "No, y'all were talking about that shit earlier." At that moment, I realized he looked at me as a second-class citizen in a place I once felt safe. Being who I am, I replied, "Excuse me, officer, my mother doesn't even speak to me like that." It appalled me to the point I might have even said some words myself. I was truly disappointed to see the disrespect I had seen on television nationally, on my own campus. One of my friends even said he referred to me as the N-word. Mind you, he's black too. Well, that's my story. I'm not going to read everyone else's just yet because I want to see if anyone else has something they need to tell me or tell us as a whole. But that experience is the last thing I needed to experience as a young black woman, And being that this is my first year of college, they still consider us babies. That's not the way that babies should be treated, right? But if anyone else has anything else to say, they can come take the mic, because that's my story.
Hello, everybody. Hi. My name's Kiki. My roommate was Jerica, the one who said that amazing introduction that set the
it like chokes me up, the fact that we always have to go back to our dorms, talk about, did you see what she did to me, or how he looked at me, or something like that. And it's not just students that do it, it's faculty too. And be like, oh, you know what, maybe, you know, I'm gonna be the bigger person that go by. Two instances happened this past couple, like 2 weeks, that I overheard because I'm so small, I'm so quiet, they don't know that I'm there. So I was walking to my friend's apartment to do my hair. I wasn't going out, I wasn't doing that. But two white girls were outside, of course, one was drunk, one was taking care of the drunk. And the drunk guy was like, oh, I want to start a riot, let's start a riot. And his sober friend was like, oh, you want to start a riot? Kill another black man. The black people will do it. I was like, wait, what? What do you mean? The black people will do it. Kill another black man? So what you're telling me is that you take these protests as a joke. I understand. You take my race as a joke. That pissed me off. It really did. And I turned around and I went back to my room and cried a bit. So I was like, okay. So the majority of this campus is white males. And they see me as a joke. The other incident was I was sitting in the back of the classroom because nobody was there yet, and I was doing my homework, and I heard in the hallway a group of white people saying, you know what, black people need to go over slavery. It didn't happen to them. It didn't happen to their grandparents. It didn't happen to their parents. They need to go over slavery. But slavery is the reason why all this is happening in the first place. The reason why I experience racism back at home all the time. I live in a predominantly white area. And I've been called a nigger, I've been spit on. I've been told, I don't want you in my vicinity so I don't have to breathe your air. Constantly. So you're telling me to go over the fact that there's an incident back in history that causes me to feel uncomfortable today, feel unsafe today. And then I was like, so how many other people think that? How many other people think that I'm overreacting because I get scared at the thought of slavery? I get scared at the thought of racism. The fact that people think that scares me. And I walk around with my head down, with my headphones in, with this hat on so people don't see my eyes, because I'm afraid to look people in the face, because if they see me, they get scared because of my color, and then they walk on the other side of the sidewalk with me. It's happened a lot of times, actually. When they see me at night, because I'm wearing all black, coming from work, they're like, oh, this girl going to see the other side. But I'm dangerous. I'm terrified at times to walk on campus at night, especially when there's a group of white people that I don't know. I'm afraid of what they think, what they're going to do. I shouldn't have to feel like that. I'm choking up thinking about it. That's my stories. Is there anybody else who wants to say anything?
Hi, my name is Azaria. I'm not right on Southside, and I'm 20 years old, and I grew up in a city called Newport News, Virginia. It's about 3.5 hours away from here. And anyone that grew up in like the 757 area, the Hampton Roads area, knows that that is an area with a lot of diversity. There's a lot of black people, a lot of Hispanic people, a lot of just every kind of person. But even in an area with so much diversity, there was a lot of discrimination. I remember being 13, 14, being followed around stores and being told to turn my pockets inside out because they thought I stole something. I remember my brother, who's 6 years older than me, so he's 26 now, who would not hurt a fly. My brother is a really nice person. Being stopped by police while walking down the street because he matched the description of a suspect, and being questioned and things like that. And there's no way in hell that you can tell me that that was not because my brother is 6'1" and black. There's no way. So when I came here, you kind of, even though, you know, my family still to this day makes jokes about it being called Lynch for, you're so funny. When I came here, I just expected expected it to be a lot different. But it's hard for it to be that way when, like Jerica said, you get here and there's no one that looks like you. When you don't have any Black female professors, when you don't have any Black male professors, when most of the Black people, whether they be African American, African, that I see are in guidance services. And that's just really difficult for me to kind of grasp, because some of these people are Lynchburg College graduates, and here they are working in the Lynchburg College cafeteria. And kind of in reference to the incident that happened in Tate, I think it's really important that we really draw the line. Where does freedom of speech become hate speech? When does freedom of action become bullying? When do we need to stop people and say, that's enough, you have your rights, but now you're messing on my rights?
Anyone else? Start.
I'm back, okay? I have articles from students that they told me about and didn't want to talk about in front of everyone, so is it okay if I tell you guys? Yeah. Okay. There's about 4 of them. Just ride it through with me, please. The first one is another incident actually happened in Tate Hall on the first floor. Again, last week, on the 21st. A young man found on his door on one of his whiteboards, "My favorite Halloween treat is candy coon." Interesting. The young man reported it to an RA, but it took 5 days to get to security, the Multicultural Center, or any director of, residence halls at all. Which I found to be a problem, because coon is a very strong term. And it's used not just for one race, but multiple. Multiple races are used with that word. And it's disrespectful. It shouldn't have been used at all. It shouldn't even came out of the person's mouth, even been written with their hand. The fact that they wrote it makes it even stronger, because words hurt, whether they're spoken or written. Regardless. That's that one. This one's from a young lady. She was afraid to say it, but she had 3 stories actually. And just as a note, please be mindful of their feelings, because this is hard for me to read and it's hard for me to even say, because some of this stuff shouldn't even happen. While working the summer transition program, a young lady and her friends walked past my table, which consisted of 4 Black females and 2 other students that were white, one in each gender. And then she states, the young lady that's walking past, she states, "That table is so urban." What makes a table urban? How is that considered urban? Because she's sitting with white and Black kids together. How is that urban? I didn't understand that until later on, because I found it hit home for me, because I'm urban. So does that mean something? Does that mean I'm nasty? Does that mean I'm not allowed here or something? Okay, I'll take that. Her second story. I wasn't going to use names, so I did student A, student B. Okay. So student A insulted student B, who was Black, by calling her a monkey and laughing. Student B then responded to her remark by explaining that it was considered a racial slur and it hurt her feelings. Yet student A had no reaction to what had been said to her at all. No remorse, anything. There was no apology to student A. There was no apology from student A to student B. Why are you calling people monkeys anyway? Do I look like a monkey? And then her last story. This is just for the record. All the people who are, big advocates for don't shoot, please don't get upset, because I might even cry a little bit after this, because this hit home for me. She says, one day I was walking and someone yelled out to me, hands up, don't shoot. I pretended that my feelings were not hurt, but later that night I cried. I felt that I was another number on our Lynchburg College campus, and no one truly cared about my well-being. That's hurtful. That hurts. Words hurt. What people say hurt. And you can't just walk around this campus and act like it doesn't. I don't care whether you're white, black, purple, green. That doesn't matter to me. It's about who you are as a person. And for you to say something like this, for you to call people a monkey, for you to even come out your mouth with the name nigger or coon, that's disrespectful to all races, me, my parents, the people that fought to get my parents out of slavery, my great-grandparents, all of that, because there's still slavery going on. Whether you black, white, or Hispanic, your people can get enslaved just as well as ours was. So don't act like that's just a front. Don't act like that just scares us, because I know the word slavery scares everyone in this room. Y'all wouldn't be here if it didn't. All I'm saying is, hands up, don't shoot. That's just messed up. Because you already know it's black men getting shot every day. It's white men getting shot every day. It's Hispanics getting shot every day. But just because I'm black, you're going to say that to me? We're throwing temper tantrums and stuff. That's not going to change anything. What changes is the person that you are. And if you can't change something within yourself, then you're not going to change anything. If you can't accept me for being black, then you don't even accept yourself. How can you accept yourself if you can't even accept me? That's disrespectful. It's derogatory. And it hurts. My feelings are hurt. I want to cry right now, but I'm too strong for that. I'm not going to do it. I'm like Jericho. I don't like crying in front of people. But, you see that photo? That shouldn't have been written. Why is that your favorite Halloween treat? Why? I don't walk on this campus calling people crackers. I don't walk on this campus calling people ghetto or urban, if that's a bad term or whatever. I don't walk around this campus judge people by their books, book of their color, like their color. Don't judge a book by its cover. Isn't that the same? So why are you judging me off my color? Why are you judging me off my cover? Just because I'm black doesn't mean anything. And just because you think you're higher than me doesn't mean you are. Because right now, we're in college. We're in the same predicament. We just as broke as each other is. Like, you ain't got my name. You can't come for me. I'm just saying, we all in the same predicament. We're all in the same place trying to get an education. And you're sitting here trying to deter people from what they feel their destiny is by degrading them with your words. It's not okay. It's not cool, and I don't appreciate it. So I feel like everyone in here, I know y'all wouldn't be here if y'all didn't feel like there was a need for change. Y'all would not be here. So what I'm saying to you is if someone around you is like this in any kind of way, saying stuff like that, writing stuff like that, being nasty like that, either you cut them off, or you just gonna cut yourself off from some of the best people in the world. Because everyone in here is beautiful. Everyone's soul in here is beautiful.
two things before I begin, before I let it off to everyone else. We pay, each one of us students, pay $46,000 a year. $46,000 a year. What can you get for $46,000 a year instead of this education? Thank you. There is a lot you can do for $46,000 a year. But you are here to better further your life. Lynchburg College had created a product for you that was founded in diversity, inclusion, equality. Lynchburg College was actually founded by Josephus Hopwood in 1903 for people who were unable to get an education at a bigger college. And he didn't say it would just have to be for white people. Anyone who was unable to pay for it. Some people paid with cows back then. But they got the education. Having that, my favorite Halloween treat is candy coon. That's one thing that happened on this campus. That's something that happened. If you don't believe that when it says that niggers aren't welcome here, it's right here. It's right here. The note. And it says it plain and simple. And he was one of my residents. Seeing that sadness on his face, I didn't know what to do. And here's another thing. He's leaving next semester. Yeah, that reaction. He's leaving next semester. But I'm not gonna blame him. If this is his first semester on campus and this is what happens to him, I don't blame him. If there are those who don't care about, at least care about them, but care about their retention number, there's your retention number. Dissipate. How many people have left because incidents were being reported or they didn't feel comfortable to speak? Anyone. If you felt discrimination in any way, it doesn't matter your race, it doesn't matter your gender, it doesn't matter your socioeconomic status, any type of way that you were discriminated in any way, anywhere. Your classroom, because I heard that there was a girl who felt invisible in the classroom. That shocked me because I didn't think that existed. Because we have a product here, or at least that's what we say we do. We have a product that we are inclusive people. We get all these sorts of trainings in inclusion. We talk about reporting. We talk about helping people, giving them the right resources. We have Pat and Annette, the token of the Multicultural Center. Pat, the token black woman for everyone. Go to Pat, go to Annette. Go to them, they'll help. I'm sure they don't even feel empowered to help you. I'm very certain that they don't feel empowered to help you. Even if you go to their stories, what can they do? I don't think they have enough ability. But everyone says go to them. Go to them. It doesn't make sense. When people are being called monkeys, niggers, coons, rats, rich, crackers, cunts, it's not right. And being in this thing, it makes you all uncomfortable, doesn't it? Being in this forum. Because all of you are sitting with your hands crossed. Those of you who study psychology, you sit with your hands across, because withdrawn, because you don't feel comfortable. Because this is not an uncomfortable topic to talk about, but it happens. This is a safe space to talk about anything that you have any problem you have on campus. Anything. No one is going to be here to judge you. And if they do, there's the entire administration. How far do you think they're going? The president and his cabinet's here. No one's going to judge you on this. Say everything that you have to say. Speak every word that you want to speak. Suicide. And it's a wireless mic, so you know we can just pass it around. You don't have to get up. Anything that makes you feel comfortable.
Okay, so last year, our roommate, we were playing around in dance. Oh, sorry. Okay, so me and my roommate were playing around in dancing, and she wanted to play a hip hop song. So in order to find one, she went on a Spotify playlist and started playing Coon Tunes. That's what she called her hip hop playlist. And so that really changed our relationship because I did not know it was like that. And then the other night, me and my friend were walking, and 3 white girls were singing Versace, and then my friend started singing along, and they stopped doing like, hey, those are the good ones, I like those. So we were gonna sing a song made by 3 white people about hip hop culture, and then be racist and hate black people. And I see that all the time at this school. Every party is playing only black music, but not let any black person be in it. And that makes no sense to me. But that's my story.
Hi guys, my name is Keisha. I'm a senior here. So I want to kind of share a story with y'all. I've told a couple of my friends and a few staff about this story, but basically, it's just my story about first coming to Lynchburg my freshman year and dealing with this huge culture shock. So I'm from Chicago, so you know there's all types of people, not really indifferent to anybody or anything like that. And so I came here very excited, like, you know, I'm on campus, first time in Virginia, you know, this is really cool, this is really exciting. And I remember I would be walking down to class, to Hopwood, and I would walk past people, usually my white counterparts, my white classmates and things like that, and I remember feeling invisible. I had never felt like that before. It was made very clear to me that I was different, that I was brown, that I was black, and I kind of feel like I didn't belong here. Even though I was here, I was going to stay here, so boom. But I remember, and I always think of this, I can remember what I was wearing, the day, everything, and just walking past someone, and I'm like, you know, get ready, I'm ready to like make eye contact, say hello, and like smile, and they just didn't even look at me, didn't register me at all. And that wasn't the only time, it happened a lot of times. And that's just one incident, but I can say that, so like that, or when I'm having a conversation with people I made friends with, and they're telling me about like, their family, and I remember one girl saying to me, oh yeah, like if my mom saw me hanging out with you guys, she'd be like, I didn't see you here to be friends with black people. Okay. And people just feel comfortable saying these things to you or people like you, and it's just appalling to me to think that like you can have a perception of a place like Lynchburg. Obviously I've been here all 4 years, love Lynchburg, things like that, but it did not start out that way. It grew on me. Junior year, I was like, okay, I'm kind of feeling it, you know, I'm used to it by now, but I don't know if y'all can tell I'm shaking, but it's just dealing with like, these are individual stories, and obviously you can't take one incident and apply it to everyone, because that's unfair. Everyone isn't like that, but there's staff, very few. Teachers, the only teacher honestly is Ms. Smith that I've had that all 4 years. And not saying that's necessarily, that's like anyone's fault, but to think like no one else looks like me but this one person out of all 4 years. And that's something like, you know, I think about, oh, well, I'm going to class, it's, okay, 4 black people, including myself, okay. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? And trying to man this community. I know a lot of people talk about that all the time, but I do that in the classroom, walking, in the cafeteria, anything that I do on campus, outside of campus in my life. But just to show, or also another incident that I think is very important. My freshman year, Big Cat. Big Cat came out, everybody was on Big Cat. remember there was a comment that said, oh, we should bring slavery back for Black people. That's crazy. And excuse my language, somebody said, oh, there's too many Black people here, it's starting to look shit-colored. So I mean, just seeing that, and it was addressed, obviously, it's a very big problem, but just to see the things that people would say when they're behind the screen or they feel protected in that, it's a very weird place to be in, especially when you feel like you don't have that many people to go to. I can only run to like, oh, my friend, like, girl, this crazy thing happened, or this person looked at me this way, or they said or did look at me, in my case rather. But just to like acknowledge that, I know for some people, they don't see it, so to them it doesn't exist. But I feel like if someone tells you, this happened to me, or there's this incident, or this is how I feel, you can't just be like, oh, well, you just feel like that. That's not the case. Because I would never do that to anyone else. If one of my white classmates came to me and felt like somebody was treating them some type of way, I'm the type of person, I'm going to go say something for you if you don't want to. How, like, you know, because it's just not fair. And I don't mind saying up for myself or other people, but just to be aware that these experiences are real and that we're dealing with them a lot of times in silence due to fear, due to feeling like no matter what I say, this is the system that's in place, and therefore it doesn't matter.
Hi, I'm Lily, and I'm also a senior. That's my friend. So I'll just talk back some things that like have been said to me in like the past 4 years. So like freshman year, we go out and guys would say, this is like disrespectful to women and so my race, but guys would say, I never tried a Black girl. Like, do you guys like white guys? Or like, you know, I'm like, what does that even mean? One, you're not trying me, I'm not a brush. Like I'm a person. So yeah, that happens a lot, and it's usually when they're drunk, but we're the most honest when we're drunk. So that's one thing. Or a friend of mine who was mixed, she got in an argument with one girl, and she told her, get your swirl dirty ass out of here. And I told her to come back because we had to talk about that. And I was like, that's not okay, that's not right. Like, why did you have to add the swirl part? Like, why does that make her dirty? And she's like, no, Lily, I like you. Like, I just don't like her. I was like, she is me, I am her. Especially when you put race into it, like that could happen to me. And I was like, that's disrespectful. And I was like, let's fix this so we can all be friends. But yeah, so that's one thing. And so, okay, so my full name is Elise Desai Tegan. And that's a mouthful. And I understand that. But my family, as like my house name, is like Lily. So when my professors asked me, like, well, first they look at the paper and they're like, it gets quiet. And I was like, it's probably me. And so if you can pronounce it, Oubette is great. And I've been called Oubette like I guess all my life. And Lily. So one particular professor looked at it and he was like, oh gosh. And I was like, it's me. Just smells like, my name is Oubette Desai Tegan. You can call me Oubette. He was like, oh. I was like, okay. You can call me Lily. And he was like, I can't roll my R's. I was like, okay. And the class was laughing. And he was like, can I just call you Betty? And I was like, and I chuckled and got myself together. And I said, no, you can't call me Betty. You can call me Lily or Oubette. I have learned your name, and you can learn mine. Since then, I love this professor. And like, we're good friends. So it's just a lack of ignorance. And even when it comes to like people that are coming like outside of America, because I'm Ethiopian American. But just, I know there'll be more coming here, and some do want to be called like Americanized names, and that's okay. But ask them, what do you want me to call you? Give them a chance to tell them your real name. If everyone called different people by the name they want to call them, that's crazy. And I know your parents wouldn't like it and you wouldn't like it, because in a name there's so much, like names passed out, we have thirds and tens, you think like the kings and stuff, like something to be so proud of. I shouldn't be like, New Year, I gotta tell everyone my name and explain it and get a little chuckle. Last year, when the professors were like, oh, it's not my name, I was like, it's me. I was like, you can just call me Dee. It's like, we don't have time. And he was like, good. And after that, I kind of closed off for that class. I was like, well, let me just get out of this class, get it done, and get out. Where I lost respect for the man that was teaching me, but also he just didn't see me as equal, and I just didn't feel okay about that. But yeah, so ask people their name, because there's so much of a person's identity in their name. And so when you say that the name is like too hard or just not American enough, you're saying, like, I'm sorry, like, you're not worth it. I don't need to get to know you. So yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Dee. I just transferred here last year, but I've been sitting here since. So, I want to say something different. When you look at me, most people assume that I'm just 100% black, but I've had someone call me a house nigger. And I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with that, but back in slavery, the African American women that were in the houses were raped by the master, and that's how I got created, light-skinned people. House nigger is disrespectful on so many levels. But I just want to tell you all this because I want you to understand that you can't judge a book by its cover, because even though you look at me and you see a house nigger or somebody who's light-skinned, I need you to understand that not only am I black, I'm French. So I've made a joke over the years to kind of get past that comment that yes, my great-grandmother was African American and she picked cotton all of her life. And she died at the age of 104. But my grandfather, his last name is Creole, and he's Creole. And they were slave owners. So regardless of where you come from or where you look, the way you look, you have to treat people like you want to be treated yourself. I really don't feel as if I fit anywhere, because when we talk about slavery, I'm offended, but then when you talk negatively about white people, I feel offended, because that's me. I don't fit anywhere. You want me to treat people the way you want to be treated. Would you want somebody to be calling your mother out of her name? Everybody knows if somebody says anything about your mom, you ready to pounce. So I just want you all to just, when you go to, I guess, not just in the spring when we start classes anew, but even professors, like Lulu was saying, my name is De'Ara. I think it's basic, but people don't take the time to say my name correctly. Because they just think it's extra and it's made up. And you just can't, just don't judge people by their cover. Take the time to get to know people, because I have friends of all races and making comments like, oh, you my favorite black friend. That's really? Or, oh, that's that good ratchet music. Really? Ratchet music. How do you define that? That's not even a real word. We're here to get a college education and learn about different things. Be scholarly. Don't just grow mentally so you can fit into this perfect field or get into this career and reach your dreams and aspirations. Grow as a person and take the time to get to know people. And what you do here, it will follow you. Because you may not like the person sitting next to you right now, but you may need a job in the future. And they don't want to remember you as the person that called them a nigger, or the person that calls you a cracker. Oh, I ain't giving them a job. They don't know how to act. So just be mindful of what you say and how you act around people, because you may need them.
I really did not want to come stories that Reese told, they were mine. I'm only going to talk about one of them, and it's the one where I was walking and I was with another friend. I don't even think she heard, but she was saying hi to the person next to, it was two of us, and she was saying hi to one of them, and he said hi back. We're walking on, and randomly he was just like, hands up, don't shoot. How's that funny? When I walk through campus, I have to remember to keep my head up because I should not be afraid or ashamed to walk on campus because I'm black. Sorry, I do not want to cry. Please don't. No, please don't. I'm sorry, I didn't want to cry because I want to be strong. Because, you know, these are real issues. You're not going to cry throughout life. You have to be strong enough to hold up, so I'm not going to cry. But yeah, I shouldn't have to walk through campus with my head down. And sometimes I do get afraid to look people in the eye, but I have learned now that I need to start walking my head up. I'm an economic finance major. I'm the only girl in my class. I'm the only black girl in my class. And if there's another black person, probably in my class. And I do look around and I see that there is no one like me. And even in class, when it's time to get help, I'm like, dang, I don't know anybody. So I had to figure it out myself. So I emailed my teachers, and I know they probably hate me because I'm always emailing them, but I don't have a connection with no one else. But I just want to say, I do love Lynchburg College. When I first came here, I didn't. I felt like I was alone and that this place didn't like me. But as I stayed and I fell in love with Lynchburg College, so this is my home. And I feel like as a group, we just have to be really mindful what we say. Like, it's not funny to say hands up, don't shoot. My dad got pulled over when he was driving his Audi, and I was in the car. He got pulled over, and the cop said to him, "Is this your car?" He served this country. He served this country, and he deserves respect. He went to 2 wars, and he could not have come back. So I thank God every day for his life. But we just have to walk around with respect. We have to respect people, and we have to be aware of what we say. I felt like I lost a friend a few days ago because she called my friend monkey. I honestly loved her, but when she called my friend monkey, I was pissed off, so I had to confront her. And I know she probably did not know what she said was wrong, but it was wrong.
Hello guys, my name is Tia, senior. I'm going to give you just a short little while. If you know me, then you know I'm kind of a quiet person. I usually stay to myself, but I'm one of the kindest people that you're going to ever meet. I'm the type of person that if I go to the caf and I see someone eating alone, I'll sit with them. I'll ask them if they would like company. If I see someone studying alone, I'll ask them, do they need help? Or could I come up with them? I'm an internal type of person. I like to be to myself, but I love people. I'm a caring person. I'm in the healthcare field because I want to help others. So I'm just going to share an experience with you that happened to me last year. I often go to the cafeteria, and
I don't always go with a big group of friends. I'm often by myself. If I see someone, then I'll sit with them. If not, I'll sit by myself. So there was a girl that was in one of my classes, and when I walked in, it was just her there by herself. So she smiled and I smiled back. I'm like, okay. So she went to go get her food, and I sat my things down at the table. And I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna have lunch with her. So I'm going in line, getting my food, chicken nuggets and stuff. I come back and her stuff is gone. And so I'm like, well, maybe she was leaving, and I misunderstood what was happening. I thought we were gonna eat together, maybe she was leaving. I don't know. So I sat down and I started to eat, and then I looked across the room. On the other side of the cafeteria, the very far side, I saw her there sitting with a group of people. She was white, and they were all white. I am black. So I went over to ask her if I had done something to offend her or to make her leave. And she said, no, but my friends came. I asked her in a different setting because I didn't want to cause commotion in the cafeteria. I asked her to meet with me, and I asked her, in the many encounters that we've had where I've tutored you in this class, and where you've texted me about your issues, and I've been there for you, have we not come to be friends? And she said, I didn't think about it that way. So the thing with me is that if I'm going to feel excluded, I want to feel excluded because I want to be excluded. I don't want somebody else to take me out of the equation that I felt I was supposed to be in. I'm not saying that I'm going to try to go around and hold everybody's hand, be everybody's best friend. Hey, I saw you yesterday. I don't know you, but we can have lunch together. I mean, it doesn't have to be that way. But I could tell that before I walked over, she was looking to see if I noticed that she had moved. She was looking and talking to her friends. And I asked her if she had a problem with me. And she said, I don't have a problem with you, but my friends came. So I had a deeper discussion with her, and she revealed to me that her family would be disappointed in her if she associated with Black people outside of the classroom. She said that she did not want her friends, one of whom was from her hometown, to tell her parents that she was having lunch with a Black girl. So at that point, I was thinking, well, we might as well have tables that say Blacks only and whites only. Because if I can't go into the room, see someone that I know and respect and care for, and have a meal with them, then what is inclusion? What is diversity? What is loving another person? What is friendship? It all starts with respecting another person. I respect every single person that I encounter. I don't care if you're a frog on the sidewalk. I'm going to walk around you, dude. That's the type of person that I am, and I just pray that more people can simplify all of these issues and just be human and be caring. That's all.
Hey, Darrell. First off, I want to say thank you to all the ladies who came over. There's a lot of girls who admit the issues that happen on campus. I've had a couple of experiences myself over the past 4 years. I want to start by saying, one of the ladies mentioned that people tend to be more honest when they're drunk. That is very true. Those of you who know me know that last year I grew out a nice big afro. I went to a party, and one of the drunk gentlemen decided to pet my hair and tell me I had pretty decent hair for a Black guy. What the hell does that mean? I don't know, but it irritated me. And frank, under different circumstances, I probably would have said something, but I realized the gravity of the situation. I grew up in Brooklyn, so those of you who are from New York or have been in New York, you know somebody named Brian. You know, depending on who you're around, if you have a number, sometimes you just gotta take stuff on the chin. And I am not a timid person. I'm not the type of person to just stand by and let people totally disrespect me. I grew up in a harsh environment, so that was kind of who I am. I can be aggressive like that. But in that situation, I came to realize that when you're at a school where you don't really fit into the majority of the demographic, when there are issues like that at Park, you are one of the few people of color in that room, men of color in that room. You don't know how to respond when another grown man pets your hair and tells you that you have nice hair for a black guy. You don't know how to say, that's not okay. And that's where I see a lot of issues with our country coming to play, especially when drinking is involved. First of all, I see how women feel, and it's not the same sense, but I understand how women feel when men do things to violate them. Because I honestly, as a grown man, I can tell you, I felt a little violated. Don't touch my hair, especially without my permission. Don't pet me. I'm not an animal. And do not tell me that I have good hair for a black guy. Everyone has their own hair. I could easily say, well, you have red hair for a white guy. But I didn't. It's not okay to, I don't even want to get into that because it's covered so well earlier. But that was just one instance. And it got me thinking a lot. Over the past weekend, I had my fourth encounter with Lynchburg PD. I like black. I wear a lot of black, especially when I go out to have fun. That's just what I do. And I feel like I shouldn't be chastised because of it. It's my color. I feel like I don't do it. This is the fourth time I've had an officer either come to me personally or to one of my associates and say, do you go here? Who do you know here? Should you be here? Are they asking you any questions? Is that guy trying to sell you drugs? These are the questions that have been asked either to me directly or to some of my friends. But I'm guilty of remaining silent because I didn't make that a public issue. I didn't really know who to go to at that point. Who do you go to when the people, this, again, I'm guilty of it, but it strikes hard when the people who are meant to protect you, people who are meant to be there for you, the people who, and I've had different experiences growing up. I was always taught in my household, you don't really trust police. You don't really trust anyone. And my cousin's a cop. She's a detective in New York. And I know from her not to trust police. Just because of the things she told me about the training and how people view you. So who do you go to when the people who are meant to protect and serve look at you and objectify you because you decided to wear black? And to me, that really irritates me to no end because of the simple fact that why should I have to change who I am as an individual to suit you? I don't need to suit you. I'm not here for you. I'm here for me. I'm here to better myself. I'm the only person in my family going to college to better myself and my family. How dare you have the audacity to ask me or my friends if I belong here? To me, that's not okay. But again, who do you go to? How do you combat that? And there's one thing for issues on campus, like I've had issues with security in my early years, 2 years ago, freshman year, actually. Similar. But I found out that I wasn't the only one, and the issue was resolved in the following year. But these instances are just one, I'm one person, and I've experienced these things on such a small campus. Campus the size of a quarter, come on. Like, we can't have this many problems on such a small campus and still call ourselves diverse. We can't have one classroom where you're the only black kid or the only kid of color, the only minority member in the class, and still call ourselves diverse. We really have to take a look at ourselves and see what we're doing as a community. I feel like we've done some excellent work over the years, but at the same time, we have so far to go. And it's not just as a community, as a Lynchburg College community, it's as a country, as a nation. I think it really does start with everyone. Ladies are right. It starts with yourself. And it's hard to admit that I am guilty of my negligence for not speaking up right, for not feeling comfortable enough as an adult, as a man, to say, I don't think this is okay. And it's hard to admit in front of everyone else that I can feel like another person violating me just by invading my space. And I can feel violated in the sense of you don't respect me as an individual because not one time, but on multiple instances, have I been asked and questioned about my belonging. And I would just like to know, what do we do about that? How do we really combat that? I know we're not supposed to ask questions here, but that's just, I gotta ask, because at some point it has to stop. We gotta draw the line somewhere. And I've discussed this with a few of my friends. It's time to stop being timid and stop just letting people do and say as they please, regardless of whether you're drunk or not. I think it's up to us to kind of show that responsibility, that integrity, that brought us here in the first place, that courage of being an adult, to take that step out on your own and say, I feel uncomfortable. I'm letting you know. Don't go back and talk about it to your friends. Say it right there. I feel uncomfortable. And that's one of those things that I'm challenging myself to do.
Hey guys, my name's Maria. I feel really small right now. But I'm Hispanic, if you guys didn't like already tell about my complexion. I do have an incident, but I'll say something first. I don't really see that many Hispanic people at Lynchburg College. I mean, when I see one, I'm like, oh, they're Hispanic. Might want to go up to them and ask them where they're from. I'm Colombian, so it's kind of cool to see like other Hispanic people. I don't really see, I mean, are you Hispanic? Are you Hispanic? No? You look like it. See, like, I don't really know what anyone else is, you know? You're Hispanic? See, and I mean, even the Hispanic society here, I don't even know if it's prevalent anymore because there's not many people that actually want to come together and, you know, be Hispanic together and just do that together. And like, I love Colombian music. I love it. I mean, I listen to country more, but I still love it. And I'm afraid to blast that music driving through college because I don't know what people think. They're gonna look at me and be like, oh, look at that Mexican. Or, you know, and I'm not Mexican, you know, I'm not. People ask me, how did you get here? Well, I flew here on a plane. No, I didn't jump the border. No, I didn't swim. I did have to come here quickly. If you guys don't know about FARC in Colombia, yeah, they were trying to kill me. My dad was doing really good things for Colombia, and they tried to kill me and my brother and my mom many, many times. So I couldn't have
mom because she's a single mom now. And, she got me here. My brother goes to Shenandoah University. He's doing really, really well there. But it just amazes me how many people use the word Mexican to try and bring me down, or any other Hispanic down. It's used a lot. I'm sure you've been told you're Mexican, you've been told how do you get here. It's really stupid. I don't see a point. So, my incident, I know a couple of you in here know about it. The person that did this, he is a star field hockey player here. Knowing that she is a star field hockey player, I didn't think I'd get my voice heard because of that. And I think rooming with her, I was like, oh, she's cool, we'll work out together, we'll do all these things together. It wasn't a really good experience, and it only lasted 3 months. She basically, my 3 friends and I went to New Jersey to watch the girls' soccer team play in Rowan University. And it was fun. It was long. It was fun. While packing up, I accidentally left a Dr. Pepper on her bed. On her desk, my bad. Accidental. I wasn't intending to do that. I was just gonna throw it away, but I guess I didn't. So I come back, and the Dr. Pepper is like all over my bed. She just all over my bed. And this was 4 a.m. when I came back on Monday. So 14-hour drive. I know you two were tired. We were all tired. So I walk in my room, dark. It was dark in there, so I didn't really see it until I lay down. I was like, oh my God, what is this? So I didn't really say anything, just went to sleep. I didn't go to class the next day, I was just too tired. And so the next day, I texted her, because I didn't really see her, and I was like, hey, why would you do that? And she's like, well, you left it on my desk, what was I supposed to? I was like, well, you could have just thrown it away, it's not that big deal, I know I forgot, I'm sorry. Then she started bringing up my race in the text. I don't know why, I don't know what that has to do with Dr. Pepper, but she did. She keeps the room very, very cold. And I was like, well, we should probably talk a little bit about, maybe maybe getting the temperature a little higher. I'm freezing, it's maybe November, so it's not that cold yet, but it's getting there. And she goes, I thought you'd be used to it since you're from Colombia. And I was like, I know it's freezing in Colombia, but no. I've lived here since I was 1. I don't think that's a good thing to say about me. And I was just shocked by what she said. She's on the dean's list, she's on everything. I couldn't believe it. I'm pretty sure she said other things, but I don't really remember. That's the only thing that really stood out to me. She said something about me being Colombian and what that had to do with it. So, what I did was I went to Miss Annette. I went to Miss Annette first, actually, I remember. I went to my room after talking to Miss Annette about it. We set up a time that me and this young lady would meet, talk about it, see if we could fix any problems, because that's what we need to do since we're a roommate. We need to talk and see if we can fix it. I don't know how you can fix that, but we needed to fix it. So I went in there, we talked a little bit, and I told her how I felt. And in that room, I didn't feel safe. I felt like she was still bullying me. She was still saying things like, oh, I'm Italian, I'm Filipino, why does it matter when I say to you, you shouldn't think that's hard, blah, blah, blah. And I remember storming out there, crying, and then walking to my room, laying in my bed and just crying. And then Mark came to my room, and he saw me crying. And then, he took action. He went back to Miss Annette, talked to her about it, and then I finally got approved to leave the room. And they didn't charge me, but I still think it's stupid that I had to literally go through all of that just to get a room change. So, I feel like everyone has things going on. I feel like everyone should speak up. If you're scared, everyone's been through it at one point. I don't see any white people coming up here, and I think that's a big thing because it doesn't happen to them, most likely. Not speaking for everyone, but it probably doesn't happen to them because they're a majority at this campus. Like I said, I don't really see Hispanics walking around. At my school, my high school, it was like all white. And Asian knows that. It was all white. I was like maybe five Hispanics there. Maybe like the one little group of black people there. It was like maybe 6 people. That's it. It's just all of the white. And you could see that. And that's why I didn't belong. I didn't feel like I belonged there because there was no one there for me to be like, hey, let's go listen to some music. Let's go to a concert or something. So I still feel really hurt about what happened, and I still don't think that she got what she deserved because that is under student code of conduct, what she said to me, and she should have been penalized. But can't really get there. My mom wanted to do something about it. And I was like, no, Mom, please, you're gonna make me stand out. But she did harass me, and that is under the student code of conduct, and something should have been done. But yeah, that's my story.
Different kind of story. It's a happier story, but it's along the same lines. So 2 years ago, over the summer, I was working at a Boy Scout summer camp. And my program was working with the new scouts, 10 years old, remember, 10 years old. And I would get a group of about 10 scouts, and I would teach them all these basic scout skills throughout the week. One week, I had a group that consisted of 7 white scouts and 3 Indian scouts. Now, throughout the program, I would ask them to pair up into groups while I teach a lesson, and then they can help each other. 2 of them really stuck out to me. One was Camden, one of the White Scouts, and Vapul, one of the Indian Scouts. Now, they're about the same build, same general facial structure, just about nothing different about them except for their skin color. Now, I watched them because that kind of interested me. When I taught them these skills, they were helping each other throughout the whole thing, helping each other learn knots, showing each other how to build a fire, and even hiking with each other on our 5-mile hike. What they saw was that they didn't see each other as anyone different. They saw each other as 2 people in the same situation, with the same struggles, learning the same things, learning from each other and gaining from each other. And this helped me realize that these acts of racism, these behaviors that we see and have heard about, they're not ingrained in our minds because of our race. They are learned. that takes a very special kind of strength that a lot of people don't have, a lot of people don't think they have until they use it. So.
Hi, I'm Jerry. I'm probably going to stay over here because I really don't like public speaking. So, I have my own instances, but I don't want to talk about that. What I'm going to talk about is what happens after what happened that night, is all the conversations that happened after all the gossip and everyone to figure out how everything went down, what people said, what people didn't say, and talking to my friends about it, of any race, and talking about how disrespectful that was and how wrong it was. But looking around, I only see one or two people who I've talked about it with here. And what really gets me is how some people feel like it's not their problem. How you have a conversation with them and they're so with you and they are so supportive of you, but then when you say, oh, what are you going to do? They're like, oh, that's not my problem. Oh, that doesn't involve me. Oh, I don't feel like I should step in. Oh, I feel like that's not my job. This is my life. I live this every day. Any people of color live this every day. It's not just what's happening, what happened 2-3 weeks ago, what happened recently, what with this on the whiteboard. It's someone's life that they have to deal with this every day. Every day is the struggle. Every day they have to worry about, is someone going to offend me today? Is someone going to say something to me about my race or color, whether you're white or black or Indian or any other color, having to worry about, am I going to be singled out because of who I am as a person and then shut down because, no, that's my problem. So, that's all I'm going to say.
Hi, my name is Jordan Ritchie. I am a transfer student, so I'm a senior this year, but I just came last year. I talk really fast, so slow me down. I really wasn't going to say anything, but I just kind of wanted to listen. But, Jarrell, yeah. What Jarrell said, it kind of made me think about, our community. I'm going to give you my instances first, and then I'll, tell what I was going to say. But also somebody that's here, they can come and say their side of the story because they kind of experienced it with me as well on one of these instances. So this is on the faculty side. I'll do this one first. This one's a little easier. Over the summer, I had one class with a professor who was a white female. And I mean, just subtly, I really don't think she can realize what she did when she did it. There was three, maybe more actually, 3 African students in my class, and as one person that spoke earlier was saying, she was struggling to become one of the, so the teacher was calling roll to start the class, and the first class, and so she said the names of one African student, she said the name of another African student, and then there was actually 4. Other names went by. She said another name that she couldn't pronounce, and the person gave her the name that she would like to be called instead of her name that was more difficult for the teacher to say. And then the final student she got to, she said, "Oh, did y'all all decide to take the class together?" And the teacher was, and I don't know if the students did. I really don't know them like that. And so I think that it just came out, and she really didn't realize what she said. And nobody said anything. We just kind of, you don't really want to cause anything. You don't want to make a scene or anything. So because everybody just brushed it off, I didn't say anything. Some of us giggled and just let it go, and then she moved on and continued taking the role. I really don't think in that moment she knew what she did, But, you know, it's things like that, you know, it's just, you know, that as the gentleman said, like, it's just learned that people don't realize, you know, on a daily basis what they're saying, what they're doing, and how it affects the people. And I think the exposure of what we're doing here is really, it's helpful, but it needs to be, you know, campus-wide. Like, it's not just us in the room that want to change, it needs everybody to do it. So other thing that I have is another class that me and this young lady are taking. And I honestly, me again, we are very, as she said, her personality, very similar personalities, outgoing, friendly person. I am from New York, so I can, you know, get down. But, you know, I'm that person that always, you know, I don't think anything less of you. I'm going to give you respect and treat you a reason not to. So I never thought anything of this teacher. I mean, a week went by and there were you know, strange things happening, and I just tossed it up as that's maybe just her teaching style. She was a great professor, taught very well. I don't want to get the class. It was a very hard class, but very, you know, science, very, very hard class. But she was a really good teacher, and I think she loved what she did. So that's why it was strange when certain things that she did just, you know, contradicted her teaching style and her method. And so a couple of incidences, I mean, there was many throughout the course of the class. One, this young lady right here, she you know, had trouble getting to class for, she'll say she can, but, you know, for, you know, a health issue, I'll just say that. And the teacher, when she wasn't there, you know, because I had to find a buddy to stick with so that I can make it through this class, when she wasn't there, I made, you know, the teacher would ask, you know, has anybody heard from her? And, you know, I just, you know, was like, no, I haven't heard from her, but I'll make sure to text her and, you know, make sure to find out what's going on and make sure to take notes of whatever she does come and so on. Finding out later from Tia was that, you know, she had already emailed the professor. She had already told her why she was going to be there. And initially, when we first took the course, she asked us any health problems, anything that's going, you know, anything that would, you know, any concerns that the professor needs to know. So she already knew everything that she needs to know about Tia. I'm sure she gave her all that information. But it was just strange to me that every time that she was absent or late, you know, it was a surprise to the professor where she was. However, I'm sure Tia made her aware of what was going on before she came to class. And then other things were that so the class kind of split half and half. 3 black students and 3 white students, majority mainly. I think there might have been maybe 1 or 2 more either way. And so, small class, she made sure that there was provisions given to, you know, one group of students that weren't given to us. And I mean, I just thought maybe I just missed it, maybe I wasn't paying attention, maybe I was reading the book too hard, maybe I was in these notes trying to figure out what I'm reading and what I'm talking about to make sure, you know, that I missed, you know, a different opportunity and I didn't care about it. But then later on at the end of the class, different, just subtly, the other students would just hand in all these other extra credit, all these other extra work that they were, you know, given a chance to do, and I never was given the opportunity. And it just was, you know, again, I didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe I just missed out on an opportunity. I didn't think it had anything to do with the teacher's character, but I just, you know, I tossed it up as, you know, maybe I was wrong. But then near the end of the course, I began to see a trend with a bunch of different instances happening, you know, separating the class based on color. And it was, you know, it really can't, it's hard to address that when there's no clear definition of what's going on. A lot of people gave stories about, you know, clearly what happened, clearly a racial incident. This right here is a clear, you know, derogatory discrimination against a person. But when suddenly things are going on, you know, how do you address that? You know, how do you go about that?
So the way you were saying, like the class was divided up, that was very apparent. It was very apparent that, as he said, certain gifts and extra credit and spunk and enthusiasm was given to that group, and on our end it was less. So the one thing that stood out to me, this was only a 3-week course. It was anatomy, so it felt way longer than that. But one thing that stood out to me in the midst of all my studying was that she literally said, I
But if I could give you guys grades, you would be my A's, and you would be my C's. So this is my thing. If you're giving your A's extra credit, you're giving your A's all your spunk and your energy, and we're doing work, and we're studying, we're staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning every night, going to this class every single day. And he doesn't drive it here every day. Sometimes he even go home. We're studying every night, giving it our all, but we're the C's. I came up with a B- in the class. So just imagine that if I was given the same opportunities as the A's, if I was given that extra credit that she wanted to hide from us, what my grade could have been. That's your character, whether known or unknown, affecting my grade in this one class, which then affects my GPA, which then affects my QPA, which then affects my career, which then affects my life. Your decisions and how you treat people affect them on so many levels. And in the instance where he speaks about the email, I have health issues. I've been here for 4 years. I know the process of letting the professor know what is going on with me and if I will not be available for class, and ask them what I need to do to prepare for that. There were about maybe 2 or 3 times that I only missed one day during the 2-week course. There was a couple times where I was late. I let her know ahead of time, and she didn't respond. I guess she wanted to give the impression that she didn't get the email, so that she could then mark me absent and not give me the points that I needed for class. So I showed up late, in pain. Instead of going to the emergency room that day, I said, I have an anatomy test. I'm going to go in late rather than not go at all. I'll worry about my health later. I knew I wasn't going to die. I wasn't feeling good, but I wasn't going to die. So I go in, I take the test, and of course, we're working on the cadaver. So things are stuck in things, and you have to clean and do all this weird stuff. So it's like, everybody was on a different portion, and they finished before me, of course. So I'm sitting there moving as fast as I can, going through this stuff like click, click, click. I don't even think that the people that took it could have took it in the amount of time that I took it and earned the grade that I did. But she literally looked at me when everybody else had left out of the cadaver lab and said, if you had been 15 more minutes late, you wouldn't have been able to take the test. I said, is that written in the course description that if a student is late, they're not allowed to take or make up a test? And she said, well, I have to take time to clean, and I have to take time to unpin, and I have to take time to do this and take time to do that. Well, if that 15 minutes means so much to you, can you make that equivalent to the 15 minutes that you give your A group at the beginning of class every single day to earn their extra credit points before we, the C's, even get to class? If 15 minutes means so much to you, do it, use it to do something meaningful and helpful for people other than yourself and other than people that you think are better than others. So, yeah.
I'll have 2 more instances. Just to show the stuff that was just, really subtle and really hard to see. She also, so there were like times when she was, trying to be nice and going out of her way to, maybe give us some food, like, bring something, nice to bring. And after asking us already what we wanted, then she would because we knew what we wanted already, everybody else, one group of people knew what they wanted exactly, and other people didn't speak up, and the 2 that did were like, oh, we'll find what they said, that's fine. Then she was like, well, I'll wait again, and I'll ask later. The decision was made. I don't know why we need to continue to ask, because I guess you wanted to make sure that your A group was well taken care of. The C group, their voice is, being heard, but, and, you know, I want to make sure I take care of my A group. So she asked again, the answer never changed, but she made sure to ask 3 more times. Also, planning a trip, she was planning a trip for us, you're back, okay. She was planning a trip, and then she decided that the trip was not going to happen anymore, but I never was informed. And when I came to class, it seems like everybody else was not shocked at the decision that the trip was going to be canceled or rescheduled. But you know, it was news to me, but it seemed like it was already discussed with the A group. The C group didn't have the option. They found out that the trip was rescheduled, but we didn't get the option of voicing whether we could go or not. So I'm gonna get back to it, but I'm gonna just say that when Jarrell was talking again from New York, when Jarrell was talking about our school the size of Porter, New York, I'm also, my dad's from Bedside, so I went there too. All those, I mean, coming here, I know that, you know, again, I think somebody said it too, you were like, oh, you're going to Lynchburg, you know, what do you know in Lynchburg, and do you not know how that sounds? I mean, it's just a name, you know, my skin is just my skin, it's just a name, it doesn't, you know, it's just something that is, it doesn't mean anything either way. But coming here, even though, you know, coming from a big city, you think that I was experiencing, you know, more diversity, more inclusion. I was kind of, you know, I always preferred it more here than in my big city of New York because there's a lot more to go on, there's a lot more to fear. Whether it's on the racial side, whether it's, again, I'm also West Indian, so there's a whole other thing that goes along with that. And then there's also just crime in general because we're in a big city. So I had more fear there. Coming here, I felt more comfortable. People are generally friendlier. You know, either you're not going to get a response from them or you will get a, hey, how you doing? You know, in New York, it's you make sure you do not look at anybody because that can be taken the wrong way. But when it comes down to the communities of Brooklyn, every little community has its own set. Everybody in that community knows everybody. When you move to a community, they're going to find out who you are and they're going to get to know you and you're going to build a relationship with people in that community. Whether you're from another community, you step across the line, you step across the border, they might address you with, you know, aggressiveness, or they may not. However, you know, being in such a small campus, everybody should already know everybody. For the most part, I've seen the majority of people in passing, whether we're friends or talk or not. You get to know people, you get to see people a lot easier in a smaller college campus, the same as in New York. So in a small community like that, whether you know the person, whether you don't like that person, or whether they're completely different from you, you're going to take up for them because they are in your community, or you're going to get to know them because you're being exposed to them within that one community. And that's what I think, you know, we need to create here at Lynchburg College, because as Jarrell said, it's so small. Why don't we already know what's going on, what other people are feeling, what other people are facing on a regular basis, whether it's one college campus or not? Everybody should already know that because we know one another. We see one another. We have such small classes. The liberal arts side, we have to go to all these different classes that are outside our major. We see everybody that are different from us and not within our major. So it's very easy to, I won't say easy, but you know, it's easier than being on a large campus where you're not going to know it. There's no way you're going to know everybody. But here at Lynchburg College, it's a smaller campus, so we should have the opportunity to be able to make change, I believe.
Ariel, this is the last thing I'm going to say. She really had me riled up about these points, her point system, so I'm just going to tell y'all about it. You know, in class, her 8 students would literally take word for word what she had to say so that they could get every point that they could. And, you know, I took note, I'm like, okay, well, this is what I need to know. So it's anatomy. We have to learn blood vessels, veins, all that stuff. And we have these handouts. We have a man with the head, arms, and a trunk. And he's empty. And you have to draw his systems. So she's going crazy, cat scratching all over the board, and they're literally jotting down everything that she says. I'm the type of person that if I'm learning, I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to watch you. I'm not going to do as you do until I understand what you're doing. So I literally took notes on the back of the worksheet that we're supposed to do for the homework. And at the end of the night, when I was doing the rest of my homework, I went back and just completed what I had started in class. I drew my own person and made it more detailed than what hers was on the front. So when she graded it and I had a 0.5 out of 2 points, I was very confused. And I asked her, and she said, well, read the comments. Her comment said that I didn't do what was asked. So you're telling me that I was chastised for going above and beyond so that I could increase my learning experience. I didn't draw in what you provided me. I made my own. And it was what you asked and more, but you deducted points. But your A students gave you what you asked for or less, and you gave them full amount of points or more points. So I'm just saying, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal when you're getting papers back and you're like, oh, I didn't do that good on that, I'll do better next time, I'll do better next time. If you're giving it your all and you know that every cell in your body is living and breathing that class and there is nothing more that you or God can do in that situation, look at your teacher and look at what you're doing and look at how they're processing what you're doing. I didn't want to believe that she was turning the other cheek, so to say, but in that situation, she was. And I'm thankful for Jordan because, as I said, I stay to myself and I keep my peace, but I'm thankful for him for speaking up in that situation because I'm just saying, like, I'm a senior and that B- it could have been so much better, like, but, you know, whatever.
Hey y'all, my name is Jerry. I'm a freshman. So I don't have a story, but I do have a statement. The greatest target, the biggest target in American society is the young black man. And the hatest, and the person you hate the most is the young black gay man. So for us to be sitting here and we hear all these stories about what people are going through, what I want to say to my brothers and sisters, first I want to ask them to stand up. All people who are African American or the same color as me, white and me, it doesn't matter, you can stand up. What I first want to say to y'all is that this is a situation that we have been going through for a long time. And we keep looking for answers and we keep looking for how things are going to change. But first we have to come together as people. I see many of you on campus and we don't even speak to each other, we don't even say anything to each other. But that has to change. Because to make a change, we all have to come together. We talk about slavery and we talk about the upbringing of our people, but they were together and they made a change. This change won't be fast, it's going to be slow, but we have to work together to do that. And it's only going to happen if we come together and do that. So if we have a problem, we tell each other and we make that change together. It will not happen unless we do it together. And what I want to say to what we call white people, I think that is like kind of offensive, so I'm talking about American. I want to say that many of you might not be racist, but you have to realize that it still exists. You have to realize that our feelings are still hurt. You have to realize that we are going through a struggle. And you don't go through that struggle, so you don't know how to feel. But I want you to understand that these stories are real and they hurt. Back to my people, I want y'all to be bold and stop being silent. Because the more we're silent, the more we let people run over us. We can no longer go through this and be silent. We shouldn't have to have a forum for us to speak about things that has been going on for a long time. We should be doing this ourselves. But we got to walk around outside of our black with posters up saying racial injustice, then that's what we're going to do. And I promise you, I will do that from now on. If you have a problem, we will speak about it together and figure out a way to change it together. Because that's how it starts and that's how it's going to end. Thank you.
My name is Chibuzo. I am an international student from Nigeria, and I'm swimming as well. So, when I left my home country, one of my goals was to come here and, make friends, meet new people, and just be happy. When we first transferred, my friends and I, we transferred from Nottingham University in Boston, Massachusetts, to Lynchburg College. So we were in Tate, and then I was on the second floor, but I had friends on the 5th floor. So it was Halloween, and one of the designs said, Ebola is here. You might wonder, why is this a problem? But at that time, it was, discovered that Nigeria had an Ebola case. And this was when we just arrived, and my friends were there, Nigerians, and this design was there, boldly written, Ebola is here. I don't know, but that really made, it was, it's still very sad that, knowing that this is something going on. I don't know, they've been saying don't judge a book by its cover, which is really true, because we left Nigeria months before that case even came up, and seeing that was just terrible. It made me feel really terrible. It made me feel like I'm somewhere I don't belong. No inclusion, in a place where I have absolutely nobody. And so that changed my idea, it changed everything I came with. I had to stick to the only ones who I felt included, to my friends, my Nigerian friends that I came with. Because of that experience, that first experience. That's not all, I've had many more. I can't get a job I'm qualified for because I have a different accent. What is so inferior about my accent? My Nigerian accent, my African accent. What is so inferior about it? What has my accent got to do with anything? I speak and you understand. Why is it a problem? Why can't I be where I am supposed to be? Because of my accent. There are lots of other experiences. My friends, get asked by people every time, do you live in trees? Do you guys walk around with animals everywhere? I can't believe that in 2016, people would actually ask that question. It's very sad how ignorant some people are. And what's more sad is that professors are part of this ignorance. You tell them you're from Nigeria, and then some people are wondering where that is. Some people don't even know that there are other countries in Africa, except South Africa. So it's just that, it's not just about I'm speaking on behalf of every other person, international students, and Africans here. A professor walked up to me in class and spoke something I didn't know. And I was just staring. He probably didn't, take it as something serious, but it really offended me. He spoke something, the language, and he expected me to understand what he said. And I kept staring at him because I didn't understand what he was saying. He spoke Swahili. And we don't speak Swahili in Nigeria. There's so many tribes, I can't even speak I can only speak one out of the many tribes in Nigeria, many languages in Nigeria. I can only speak one language, my language, Igbo, and then I can speak English. But he expected me to understand that because
I'm African. My friend, another Nigerian, her professor, so after she wrote a paper and she submitted it. And the professor made comments on the paper and said, oh, I'm glad you can now speak English, better. And she still has a paper where the professor made this comment. And we're all wondering, how do people learn to speak English in 2 months? But that's like the time period this thing happened, because it was a new semester and we've just been there for 2 months. It's been really hard. It's been very hard, and it's a struggle. Thank you very much, Jordan, for mentioning that I was actually one of the students in that class. And like she said, she probably didn't realize, what she did, but it happens every day, everywhere, on campus, in the classroom, and professors don't even realize, students don't even realize when they say things that actually hurt people. And I can't feel included, I don't feel included in a place where I'm meant to, where, I've been told to take as my home. Since my home is far away. But the only thing I can think of is, getting done and leaving because I don't feel included. That's all.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm very awesome the first time I'm told something or anybody or anything. So I may come. But after the first event that we had with the discussion panel, I had to leave because I had a Spanish class. And it was guys walking in front of me. I guess they were the guys who had an incident because they were talking about it and he was mad. So I asked him what happened? I want to know your side of the story. So he told me that they were having their party and they weren't letting people in who didn't have IDs. And I was like, okay, that's understandable. Then he was like, the guys were walking away. And I was like, okay, well, why did they get mad at y'all? He was like, because we wouldn't let them in. I was like, all right, well, what else to say? He was like, we called them out their name. He was like, but that didn't give them the right to knock me out. And I was like, well, what did you say? He was like, it really doesn't matter. I said, but it does, because if any black person or anybody else is called out their name, they're going to feel some type of way. And if he hit you, it's because you offended him. And he had it right. The same way if somebody called you out your name, you would want to fight them. So I was like, what was the problem with that? He said, I shouldn't have had to been knocked out and put in a hospital. He said, I wonder what is going to be done about those kids who don't even go here. I said, what is going to be done about you stepping outside the line and crossing the line, calling a black person a monkey? I said, I'm black. If you would have called me that, I probably would have fought you too. And I'm a girl, I still would have tried to fight you. Because that's disrespectful, point blank period. He didn't see anything wrong with it. So I said, well, just keep in mind, you only spend 1 day in the hospital, right? He said, yeah, just 1 day. I said, well, just keep in mind about all the kids who go home every day to get told, oh, your dad was shot because he was waiting on you to pick him up from the bus stop. Just keep in mind you're not in your grave. Simple as that. He didn't say anything, he walked away. And I think that's very strange that you don't see anything wrong with what you've done. He really just like, oh, I got hit. They should be getting locked up, but you wouldn't get in trouble for what you said. And I'm still trying to figure out what the school is going to do about the guys who called us monkeys. Well, not even us, but still, we all feel that it was all directed towards us, what is going to be done. Because if it was the other way around, I'm pretty sure we would be expelled, kicked out of school for a semester or 2, but yet we're only discussing what happened, but we get to see the action. I'm just waiting on the action because personally, I'm not going to pay $46,000 a year to go to a school that don't respect black people.
I would say on topic of the incident, I felt that I was worthless after the discussion last week because when we were talking about campus safety and we brought up racism, you guys said, well, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about campus safety. In my mind, if I'm getting harassed or discriminated or threatened because of the skin of my
because of the color of my skin, how do you expect me to feel safe on this campus? And you're not going to do anything about it. How do you expect me to feel, sit in a classroom where I'm the only black person in there and wonder, hey, I'm in this group of white people, but do they actually feel something towards me? Do they actually feel hatred towards me as they sit here and try to be friendly and smile in my face? How do you expect me to feel where I live in the area and the Westbrook apartments where it's mostly white people, and when they start drinking, do I feel safe going outside and just go trash? You guys keep saying all racism is not what we're talking about. We're talking about campus safety. To me, that is disrespectful towards me, anyone who is black. And I felt that me paying you guys $46,000 for me to say that just made me feel that I wasn't worth the $46,000 I paid. And to me, I'm not paying that much money. And you guys are investing in me to represent you in my education. I invest in you guys to protect me in 4 years out here. So thank you.
On this campus, when I first got here, I felt, as many students here have said, they felt invisible. Even in Latin culture, there is racism. I am obviously a colored Hispanic, and I guess considered a squirrel. My dad is a white colored Puerto Rican, and my mother is she's a dark colored Panamanian. And in the area where my family in Panama live is Afro-Hispanic. I guess the slave trade really got around. With that though, I have had to deal with growing up, and especially in the military, most military families are white. And I did not speak English at all starting off. I spoke Spanish. And I was told that in America you do not speak Spanish. You have to learn English. And I was bullied a lot for that. But then coming over that hurdle and then coming over my skin color and growing up, I had learned to adapt. So adapting, that's what I always put on my resume. I'm so adaptable. Another word for that is I'm very good at assimilating myself, I guess, into what is the common and most appropriate culture. Getting here, people could not tell what what I am, because everyone usually just sees the color of my skin. Oh, I thought you were black. Yes, but I'm colored, but I am also Hispanic, and yes, I do speak Spanish. I wore sweatpants a lot, usually because if I'm not dressed up and going to class, I like to wear sweatpants to be comfortable. That was called ghetto, so I stopped doing that. Or my favorite was one of those things that he said, it's like, oh, you look like you just killed Tupac. Thank you. For stereotyping me, and I don't even know what that means, like, thanks. I'm very proud of my residents, past residents. Love you, Jerica. Aussie was here, Kiki, for speaking out. I am so proud of you guys. Because one of the reasons why I became an RA was because of how I felt when I first got here. Lily, Keisha, and a few others were, with me, were the very few colored people I saw in my classes, saw in the buildings. And we felt extremely uncomfortable, extremely separated, and I think I can speak to all of us where we felt like we really had to get out of our way for people to recognize us. As my residents know, I wear a bandana every night. I braid my hair, 2 pigtail braids, and I wear a bandana every night. I have been called, I love pancakes and syrup, but I have been called Aunt Jemima many times for doing that. It got to the point where I kind of just told people to shut up because I can do whatever I want and whatever I please, and that's also very racist, so you shouldn't be saying that. But honestly speaking, just from my own experience, it really sucks. Saying that racism doesn't exist on this college is a complete and absolute lie. I'm proud that my residents and prior residents are here, current residents, who am I going to talk to? And I felt the need to honestly put myself in every single club and organization I could so that people could see this is who I am, this is what I'm capable of, and I'm more than just another number, which is ironic because it's a small school and we're supposed to be more than just a number anyway. Hearing about not just the incidences that have happened in Tate this year, but me being there in Tate for, I guess, my 4th year in Tate, and seeing the constant hate of people of color, of people who are of the LGBTQ community in general, people that are a part of the minority, it is extremely disappointing, extremely saddening. It was on my floor where the Ebola sign was written my sophomore year when I first became a resident assistant. And even last year there was another incident of a slur thrown around in which I also had to mediate. And I guess that's what sucks so much, is why do I have to constantly have to mediate, have to explain that it's okay to love each other and not put each other down because of what you look like, because of where you come from. I'm sorry, you're here to get an education, so go get one and stop being so ignorant. And that's kind of difficult to say, even formulate words, but ultimately it's extremely, extremely disappointing. I'm just gonna stop talking because I'm known to be very happy and smiling all the time, but people who know me very closely also know I'm extremely angry. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Shekinah, and I'm a first-year student here, and I live in Tate, and I love Angelica. We are on her floor. I just wanted to say that I don't personally have any concerns because I didn't even realize half of the stuff was going on until some people told me, like Mark told me, and some other guys on the first floor told me. And it really kind of hurt me because I've made so many different friends who are so many different, a diversity of races, and I've never ever gotten a single vibe from a single one of them that anything like that would ever happen. And so then I also realized that it's not just like one group of people, it happens within all the different groups. And I know this from personal experience. I've been, like the girl was talking about how it's like being a foreigner. My mom's from Zimbabwe and she speaks with an accent, but she's an English teacher. She gets those questions all the time, like, do you live in trees and that sort of thing. And I've been out of the country and I've experienced that, where people heard me speak and wondered why I spoke the way I spoke and immediately judged me for it. Or asked me, why do you hang out with so many white people? Don't you have any black friends? And I said, well, right now, the community I'm in, the majority of the people around me are Caucasian, and these are the people that I connect with. So I just want to encourage everybody, no matter where it is that you're from, if you're an international student, if you have an accent, it doesn't matter if you're Caucasian and you see someone and they're in your class or something, like don't be afraid to talk to them, because you'll be amazed at the people you'll become friends with. Like this right here is my roommate, and I'm so proud of her for speaking up, for saying, hey, this is something I'm not used to, because I think all racism is just rooted in fear. People are afraid of what they're not used to or what they don't know, but I think within all our communities, if you're an African American and all these concerns, because things are happening on campus, but sometimes you just need to reach out of your group a little bit, like reach out and talk to someone who is different from you, who's maybe you don't know anyone who's ever been gay, and you want to, talk to someone in the LGBT community, because not everybody's the same. Not everybody's what you see on TV. So I just want to encourage everybody.
Hi, I'm still free. I'm still very nervous, so I'm just stay over here. I just want to personally thank her. She's on the phone, but she's talked, and she's great. I'm also from Nova. It is very much a bubble up there. And personally, I didn't really see too much problems with this. But I just want to thank you for standing up and appreciating us telling our story, and you appreciating what we go through and understanding that you may not understand, but you want to understand. And I feel like that's the point of this, is for people to want to understand if they don't, and people who do understand can tell them what's going on and how they can help them. And also, Darian left, but he used the word we, and it's only 2 letters, but it's a very strong word. It can be used inclusively and exclusively. And I feel like we, as a whole, African American, Black, white, different races in general, can stop this. It was said earlier, only 23% of us are minority, 23, 33, something like that. 23? Yeah. That's not a lot of us. It's going to take more than that to stop this. If so many instances can be said on so many different occasions from the same person, so many different instances, it's going to take more than 23%. It's going to take all of us to try to stop this, whether you're colored or not. It's going to take at least something from each one of us to stop this. And I feel like the word we is too often used exclusively than inclusively here. And we, us, can't stop this, no matter what race, ethnicity we are, because we are all special in our own way and deserve to be heard, whether it's the I'm really bad with words, and I'm sorry, the LGBT community, or the Black community, or the Asian community, or whatever other minorities are here. It's going to take all of us to stop this.
Okay, hi. I've been sitting here a lot of this time thinking about whether or not I should stand up and say something. But I'm going to switch gears a little. I did the summer transition program, and we did this exercise called The Wall, where we got stereotypes and we had to write, or we got like groups of people and we had to write common known stereotypes. And for gay, someone wrote faggot. I went up there and I took that down and I explained how much I hate that word and how it's a terrible thing, and how for a good portion of my life it's been used to tear me down. One night behind Tate, sitting at the smoking table, a friend and I were talking about something, and she referred to a group of people as faggots. They weren't even in the LGBT plus community. They just, for a while people said that's gay and oh, you're such a fag, as like just a generalist thing, to say something's uncool or that person's not cool. And I just kind of looked at her and I was like, that's not nice and you shouldn't say it. It's, there's a million other adjectives in the world that you could use. She felt awful about it, and she said she was sorry, and I told her it was cool. And I didn't think anything else of it the rest of the night, but she texted me and she told me that she was really sorry, and she hoped she had learned her friendship. And that meant a lot to me, to know that that who I am and speaking up for what I believe, and speaking up and saying that something's not right, it doesn't automatically turn people away, and it doesn't automatically mean that people no longer want to be your friend because you have a voice. And I think that if something happens and you don't agree with it, you should say something. And if you're on the receiving end of being told that's not okay and that's not right, you shouldn't shut down and push those people away and automatically assume that they're just being mean or harsh. You should kind of think about it. And then if you have a reason to apologize, you probably should. Yeah.
I'm Billy, and when I came here today, the last thing I thought I would be doing is holding this mic, talking to y'all. And I was sitting here and I thought of an example example of something that didn't happen to me, but something someone told me about someone else. And over the last hour or so I've been sitting here, I decided that the story really isn't the important part of what I feel I have to say. People say that ideas, or ideas that change amongst people, start with people like us, 18 to 20, whatever. Our ideas influence everyone else's ideas. Like an example, there are people sitting in this room who, less than a decade ago, would have been very opposed to gay marriage. But that's almost completely changed. I bet everyone in here, I hope so, is for it. It wasn't because people their age convinced them, it was because of our arguments, because of the things we said. Which makes the stories that a lot of people are saying here even more disappointing. Because the majority of them were said by people our age. So if our generation can't even come to agreement that these things are wrong or these things exist, they never will happen. And I was raised in Norfolk on the East Coast. Someone else here said they were from 75 to 7. I have not experienced discrimination against myself, and I haven't seen much from it, at least back home. So, you know, and when I came to Lynchburg, I expected I'd see things that I didn't see, because I went to a private school my whole life. My graduating class was like 70 people. I went to a very small school. I've lived in a very small community. I've always been sort of shy, so I've always had a small group of friends. And I expected to see different things, you know, when I come to Lynchburg. Because even though Lynchburg is small for college, it's still way bigger than anything I was used to. And, you know, I was at SOAR and I heard people, okay, I'll just tell it. I said I wasn't going to tell it, I'll tell it. My SOAR group, I was talking to this person, I'm not going to use his name because he's not here. But he was looking, I couldn't find my roommate for SOAR. And he was helping me find him because I said I'd help him find his. So we split up and he actually found his by himself. And he came up to me and he goes, and he was very grossed out because his roommate told him, his roommate said, I'm going to be up front with you, I'm gay, I hope you're comfortable with that, I'm not going to do anything. And when this person told me the story that the roommate said this, they were very agitated. They were like, they used the word queer. So I was like, what's this all about? Everyone I knew that went to my school would never say things like that. And that issue, like LGBT sort of rights, is so kind of new. It's an issue that's changing very fast. So I wasn't that shocked when I heard people say something like that. But I live in the dorm right across from where that was written. And I know the two people who live there, they're funny, they're cool, and they would never say anything that would provoke that. Not that there's anything that they could do that would make whoever wrote that appropriate. But the reason I'm saying all these things is the point I'm trying to make. We can't change an idea if we don't all agree. And it's people like us who are 18 college students that are going to change other people's minds. And we've seen people change opinions on things like gay marriage, like I said earlier. But why can't we deal with a problem like racism, which has been there much longer and progress has been much slower? And you hear people say things like, oh, well, racism doesn't really exist, or if it does, it's not that influential as it used to be. And what I say to that is, racism today might not be as much in your face. It's almost more, I don't want to use the word systemic, but it kind of is. When you look at the jail system in the United States of America, and so far, most people have been telling stories, and there are a bunch of people who you can't convince with stories. So here's just some facts. More white people in this country use drugs. Now, drug-related crimes is the biggest percentage of people in jail. Most of them are in there for a drug-related crime. My mouth is dry, I'm super nervous. Most people in jail are in there for drug-related crimes. Now, there are more white Americans who use drugs, who sell drugs, but if you look in our jails, I think the ratio for white men to black men is like it's like 8 to 1. It's insane. And when you see all these black men lined up, chained together, with guards holding batons, you know, that looks like slavery to me. It's not that much different. Replace the batons with whips. What's the difference? It's hardly any. So when it is our responsibility as the youth of this country to change people's minds. It's everyone's responsibility to try to stop racism, but we have more power in the situation because we can change it better than other groups of people. I don't care if you're black or white. If you're youth in America, you can change it. You can change it.
Alright, so my name is Drew, and I have had several incidents on campus as well. But one incident I had, I like country music. I don't know if anyone else does, but my favorite artist is Luke Bryan. And so I wear a Luke Bryan shirt sometimes, and I think it's so sad when I walk down the hallway and a group of individuals will stare at me just because of what I'm wearing. Okay, it doesn't matter what I'm wearing, I'm still getting education just like you are. And another incident I have is, I can't walk down the sidewalk without somebody of another color grabbing their backpack. I'm not that type of person, and at the end of the day, we all bleed red. So what does it matter what I wear or what I was like going to school in? And that's it.
I'm Rihanna, and I'm one of the which is crazy what she just said. She's like 100 pounds soaking wet, so it doesn't even make sense. But when I was in kindergarten, there was a girl, a white girl, her name was Sarah, and I guess she had learned these terms while she was at home, and as kids do, she brought it to school and wanted to share. And she called herself white, and she called another kid in the class black. Well, at the time, in my childhood innocence, I said, no, he is not black, he is brown. You are colorblind. Well, my teacher came over, and I guess she thought it was a time to educate me on colors. And she told me, no, he is black, she is white, and you are mixed. You are white and black. And I said, no, white and black make gray. And I called her a dum-dum, and I got sent to the principal's office. And for years in elementary school, I always argued this. I said, no, they're brown, and really she's more a shade of pink. She's not white. If you held up a crown, she's not white. And I argued this for a long time, but at some point I stopped believing that. At some point I realized that I am mixed. So what am I? And for some reason this became a huge identity crisis. And now that I'm older, I don't really care about that anymore. Most of us don't. But at some point in my life, I felt like I had to choose whether I was black or not. And I think this says a lot. I grew up with my white grandparents. My mom is white. I saw my dad for very little part of my life. He's black. All of his wives were white. My aunts were all white. My uncles were white. I was white. That didn't really mean anything to me except that I had a label now, and that was important for some reason. I was white. Well, there was one time my white grandmother has no idea how to do my hair. It's not straight, it's not fine, it's hard to do. And she brought home some hair products, and I remember my aunt saying, those aren't going to work on her, she is black. And for some reason this hurt me. And at the time, I thought it was because I didn't belong. I thought that there was this concrete line, and I was either white or I was black. My family was white, I was black. I didn't belong here anymore. And for some reason that was important. For some reason this affected me so much didn't have any black family, but I'm black. What does that mean? And I think about this a lot, and I wonder how much more beautiful the world would be if white and black just stayed gray.
Hi, my name is Sunny. I'm going to stand back here because I can see everyone. And I kind of tend to laugh when people that I know, mostly white people, say that racism doesn't exist, because I grew up in a really small town in southern Delaware, which as a whole is Sussex County is really poor, and my family is racist. My parents, when I grew up, they were visibly uncomfortable whenever I had a black friend at school that I was hanging out with that I wanted to bring back to the house. They raised me with the ingrained ideas that, you know, black men abandon their children and all black women like to live off welfare and they're all poor and do drugs, and basically trying to insinuate that they're good for nothing and that they're just inferior. And the thing is, they were also raised like that. Like, my grandmother refers to Obama as a sandpaper, and she doesn't see any problem with that. Like, calling the leader of our country such this intensely charged racial slurs, and I have to sit with people that I know that I am occasionally friends with, and more often not, who think that, and it's not just limited to black people either, it's, you know, it's Mexicans, and I have to hear them called wetbacks and sticks, and basically assume that they're all, you know, cleaners, and that's all that they're going to be, like cleaners and fruit pickers. And I've worked in restaurants, especially fast food places, and when lunchtime rush came, and if we get like over the summer, I worked at a pizza place, and every few days when we get lunch rush, and we have people who are obviously coming in from like whatever produce field they were coming in on, and there was like a wave of like 15 Hispanic people. All the white people in the store, because there were no black people, felt instantly unsafe, even though all these people were trying to just come in and get something to drink and get something to eat and go back to work. And this is something that I was raised around, and something that I and a lot of other people who realize that it's wrong have to consciously fight every single day. And it's a little difficult to talk about sometimes, because it's like, oh, if you try to say, okay, well, I'm not like that, then people are like, okay, well, what do you want a cookie for being a decent human being? And on one hand, that's kind of how everyone should feel. Like, you shouldn't feel like this special snowflake just for being nice to people and loving them for who they are. But at the same time, it's this attitude that is so ingrained in a lot of white people, even now, even in 2016, because we're still, a lot of us, raised to believe that people that look differently from us or act differently from us or are, for whatever reason, whether it's religion or sexuality or skin color or just whatever personal beliefs, that they're worse than us and we're better than them. And that's something that we need to fight, that most people aren't, just because at least the white people that I know aren't willing to give up their positions of power in society because it wouldn't benefit them anymore. Like, I know a lot of people that are okay with Trump being president because he wants to get rid of people that don't look like us and act like us. And my family and a lot of the people that I know use the N-word, not just to describe black people, but to describe anyone who doesn't look and act polite and white and nice. And you get to a point where you can't call them out on it anymore, because they'll just tell you that it's just how they were raised, so just give them a free pass. Like, you can't correct your grandparents when they say extremely offensive racial things, because you're like, well, why do you care? You're white. And it's like, just because I'm white doesn't mean that I don't understand racial injustice and that these attitudes need to change, and they're not. And so I didn't get to grow up in a bubble, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because I come to places like this and sit in forums like these and realize that, you know, a lot of people that aren't here tonight for specific reasons would sit here and say that you guys are like making it up or exaggerating or just trying to get attention, or, you know, why are you speaking out about it now? Why didn't you speak about it earlier? And it's because you kind of can't, like, a lot of you guys have talked about how you have, you know, have these things happen to you and you can't go anywhere because nothing will happen, and that's something that needs to change. And it's not just, I forget the name of the person, I wrote it down at the time, but someone said something really great about, you know, working together, and, you know, you guys have got to come together and start working together as a unit to help change this, but it shouldn't just be on your shoulders. Like, we as white people need to come together and realize that we need to stop being huge jerks. And just because it makes us a little bit uncomfortable, it shouldn't make us uncomfortable to be equal. And it shouldn't just be on the shoulders of minorities to make a change. And that's something that needs to be different.
Hey everybody, my name is Maya. I'm a senior here, so I'm graduating. But I wanted to speak on just the state that we're in right now. I think there's a lack of regard for humanity and a lack of regard for the human mind, just in this country in general. And I want to point out that we're all 20, 18 years old, so we classify as millennials. And I would like to think I like to think as America as, well, we're kind of in an axial period. An axial period is when you're on the brink of progression that's so great that it's almost impossible to see anything different ever existed. It's kind of like, let's say my 8-year-old cousin, they will never know what it's like to live without a microwave. And what I'm saying is that we have a responsibility. The amount of progression that has happened within these past 8, 12, 10 years has been remarkable. All the way from race to rights and just to ways of thinking. And I personally think that we hold a responsibility to ourselves to have a certain regard for everyone here. And hearing about these issues of race and discrimination, it just jaws me because I'm like, have we forgotten who we are? We are the progression, we are the future, and we are standing on top of the pillars of people that have broken, I guess, barriers now for us to be here, for me to even be sitting here talking at this college. And it's just, I feel like, you know, we have to regard each other at such a higher level because we are really that generation that can make a change that continues to be permanent and becomes things like racism and, you know, all other injustices doesn't become a thought anymore. So when you sit here and you hear that these things happen to your friends and all this stuff, it's just like, why? You know, we have a responsibility and we need to regard each other at a much higher level. And you know, being in college student here, I've experienced my own issues, but you know, to me, I've always been taught to not respond to violence. And I want to encourage everybody that if you're going through things you're dealing with, that realize why you're here, you're here to get your education. And the best way to continue to progress yourself and also deal with those who have been, you know, discriminated against you is to stand up on that stage in your graduation day with your diploma, right next to those people that said those harsh words to you. Don't let what happened to you discourage you or take you off your path of what you're here for. Because honestly, that's it. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Teddy. I'm Nigerian. I've had several experiences with things like this, but I'd like to talk about one that I hope to tell my children. Anyway, one day my professor was talking about something, and he told me an example about a scammer, someone that scammed his mother. And he said it was Nigerian that scammed his mother. So my professor said, oh yeah, all Nigerians are scammers. At that point, I prayed God to make me invisible. It didn't happen, so I had to sit there and enjoy the show. Now, that's just one example, that's just one thing that happened, but I wouldn't like, I'll graduate in 18 months, so I wouldn't like to all the people that call space home. They will only call space home for just a few years. Some might call it a home for a long time. So we want to make sure when they leave, they go back home with good memories, memories they can share with people without crying or smiling. So I'm pleading with every person here, please, international students will not stay here for long. That's what they want. They will leave. So we have to give them good memories when we go back home. Thank you.
Hey guys. Alright, so I'm Shane. I'm an RA at McFrack, and I'm going to go off of what the last few people said about the whole calling this home and listening to what people have to say. Because that's really what, as an RA, what I want to try to do. I want to try to make everybody feel welcome here and feel included. Because I mean, and I know things have been rumored around, but I've really listened to what everybody has said tonight. And I know, like, hearing and listening are two different things here. And I want to make sure everybody knows that I can hear a rumor about what may have happened through all this stuff, but I've listened to y'all's story. I tried to feel what I could about what y'all went through and imagine what would happen if somebody said these things to me. Maybe because I am white, I'm not going to hear the exact words that were said to you, but feel how I would feel if somebody had put that on me. And I feel that's just wrong. And I know we want to change this, and that's what we're pushing towards. And I'm really glad that we are like coming together and putting this out here and trying to make this change, because I know that's what I want for everybody to have, is a home here and feel welcome. That's all we want. I mean, we're here for education and to get on and improve our life. So what better way to improve our life is to accept everybody and move on with that. Because I mean, that's the best improvement you can have, is accepting people for who they are. Just because, I'm gonna go with an example. My sister, I'm gonna use her. She's 16 right now in high school, so she's dating. And she's dated a couple of African Americans and such. That's just what she likes to do. And my dad actually took her to the side and actually said this, like, my dad said this, and then he tried to look to me as if as an agreement to this, that we don't date like that, that's not our people. I'm like, how is that not our people? What does that mean? She likes that person for personality, looks, however she feels the way she likes that, and I couldn't even bear the fact that my own father had said that and thought that I would think that I was okay. That just because somebody is a different skin color, you can't date them. I mean, even further than that, my own stepmom, I can't believe that they're so disconnected too. One of my best friends back home, he is African American, gay, and I mean, he's one of my best friends, and I brought him over because he lived so close to my dad, and I wanted to introduce him, and I really thought that they would be accepting of the fact that he was gay. And then after he left, she didn't want him to hang out with me anymore because he was gay. She was just like, the devil, because she's a really religious person, and so that's how she felt, was the devil was controlling him, and she didn't want that to influence me just because he was gay. Just because that's the way he lives his life doesn't mean I'm gonna go out and do that. I mean, that's how he lives his life. That doesn't mean it's how I want to live my life. I mean, if I do, what's the problem with that? I'm really glad that everybody who has said something and even has just been here to listen, just take this in and know that this is what's happening. And now I know what I want to see now is, what are we going to do about it? I mean, I know you're just like, oh, I at least came here and I heard the stories and I'm like, this shouldn't happen. But what should we do? What are we going to do to push this forward even more? Because we can't just say these things. You got to do something about it. I'm not saying take an angry route or anything, but stuff and moved it forward. So how are we going to take that and put that into account to help it move our movement even further than that to bring us more together?
Okay, my name is Marissa. I'm gonna go off what you said about his sister. My personal preference is African American, and I had to tell my father. My father did not talk to me for 3 months because of my preference. I was not raised that way. I don't see color. You can see this, like my friends are all African American. I have a Hispanic friend. I have many friends of many different ethnicities. And it's like, I don't understand what y'all go through, but I know there's a difference. When I walk with her to class, and when I walk with her to class, it's like people look at me because I'm with a black person compared to a white person. And that is so wrong. For the longest time, I was the only white person on the step team, but that they never made me feel like I was out of place. I've always felt like they wanted me to be there, and I appreciate that. And I've made some of the greatest friends since I've been here. And I don't come from a racist background, so I don't understand what these people have in their head that this is okay to degrade another race, whether it be black, Hispanic, Asian. And seeing like today, like how much like the smallest of word can hurt so much. I will never experience that because I am white. But I will have interracial kids. And I will have to have my kids come home to me every day and say, Mom, these people said this to me. Or this hurt my feelings. And it makes me so scared to have kids because I don't want to ever have to have my kids come in front of me and say what y'all have said today. I don't understand racism, and I don't understand why it's still a thing.
I just want to say it's important to acknowledge that ignorance isn't an excuse. And I feel like it's used as an excuse all the time. And just as an example, and Aaron Smith can attest to this, during one of our first outings of the Man-to-Man trip, we went in to get food at a small little fast food place, and a gentleman, an older white gentleman said, "Well, you brought the whole team." And that kind of hit all of us a little hard. And we were just kind of trying to figure out why we had to be a team. I don't know if Caleb remembers that. I know Aaron remembers that because we've spoken about that plenty of times. And it's instances like that where you're given a choice. You can either act up, you can take a stand in an aggressive manner, which personally I chose to get away from, or you can try to educate people. But I feel like more often than not, when you do try to educate them, people tend to say, "I didn't know." And at some point you have to say that, you have to acknowledge the fact that you not knowing, that's on you. You can't just say that just because you didn't know, because you didn't experience that culture, because you never did experience that it's okay for you to say what you say, or do what you do. I think part of being an adult is taking responsibility for your actions. I've taken time on my bill for 6 years. I could easily punch somebody in the chin and go to jail for the rest of my life. But I choose not to do that. And I acknowledge the fact that not everyone knows what I'm capable of. But that doesn't make it okay if I do it. Am I being clear with that? It's like, no one wants to take accountability for themselves nowadays. Everyone kind of wants to make an excuse push it off. And it's like, when are you gonna stop saying the devil made you do it? When are you gonna say you full of BS and you need to be accountable as an adult? And, I really appreciate what everyone's saying, and I think we're all on the same page with that.
Alright, so my name's Dom, for you that don't know me. I usually walk around with a big smile on my face all the time, but I sat there, I've nodded my head, I've bit my tongue at a few comments. I'm mixed, I'm white, black, and Native American, and I come from that kind of family. So racism has been a part of my life in some ways it hasn't, so I might be ignorant to some aspects of, say, just a black family or a white family. But what I wanted to say was, when a certain person said, well, black people stand up, I stood up because I'm part of that, but I also felt neglect that I could not sit down with part of my white side. So when we say we walk into a classroom and we start pointing at, okay, there's only 4 black people in this class, is that not what we're trying to end? Are we not trying to be integrated? So with the word minority, we are a minority, but we don't have to make it that way. Yes, it's a statistic, but I'm probably friends with the majority of people in here, and I always get out of my way to say hi to you. That's just the person I am. That's the person I wish everyone could be, but some people are just shy. So when we say that we want something to change, and we only act upon it when it happens to us personally, like with all the cop shootings and everything like that going on. I don't know if you heard about the Hagerstown event with a little female girl getting thrown around and pepper sprayed. That was my little sister. That was my little sister's sister. So it hurt me to feel that something could happen like that to my own family. I never spoken out about this or that with the cops because I have my own family in law enforcement and stuff like that. So when people start to point the fingers just after something's happened to them, it really disgusts me. Because we can't point a finger when it happens to a friend or something like that. We decide to stay silent, like sort of what I did this whole time. I stayed silent, listening and hearing what everyone has to say. So it kind of disgusts me in a way that we want to change ourselves, but we're not going to do it until something personally happens to us, which is honestly not something to read about. We express the meaning of the school as one nation and everything like that, but are we really one nation when we're not going to stand up for another person of another race because something happened to our race? That's almost despicable. I've never had something, I've always felt safe on this campus. I don't know if it's the people I've surrounded myself with or the experiences that I've actually had, but I've never felt unsafe on this campus, and I can carry that to my professors and everything like that. I've never walked into the room like, oh my gosh, my professor is black, my professor is white. I've had every ifs, ands, and buts about my professors, and I could have blamed them. Oh, I read on this essay because I'm black and they're probably racist. It's disgusting, honestly. And if we can look at ourselves in the mirror every day to say that, hey, I want to live in a place where my children don't have to experience racism, we have to take that step together and not walk into the class and say, hey, there's only 4 black people, I don't know what's going to happen. That's all I have to say.
Hey y'all, I'm back. How you doing?
Good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Where do we start? Okay. The summer transition program is 2 weeks. The first week is training, the second week the peeps show up. ST peeps. Summer transition people. After the first week of training, we went to the caf for lunch. We had crab legs, and that was the first day the caf was good, and I was like, yes, crab legs, go get a drink. I got confused. Someone asked me if I was okay. I woke up in the hospital. I had a seizure. My 4th seizure in my lifetime. After you've had 2 in your lifetime, you are epileptic. No one told me that, so I didn't know. After this 4th one, they decided to tell me. So, I've been diagnosed with epilepsy. I have to take a pill, 9:55 in the morning, 9:55 at night. I made it 9:55 instead of 10 because I tend to forget it, so I got 5 minutes to run to my room, go get my pill, and take it. That makes me feel like I have no control over anything in my life. I might be talking right now, get confused, have a seizure, wake up in the hospital. I can't control what my body does. I may have a mood swing, so when I get angry, at the back of my mind, I don't know if I'm angry because I'm angry or I'm angry because of my medicine. So I don't have any control over my body, over my feelings, over my mind, over what is going to happen. At one moment, I didn't have control over my voice. A week after taking my medicine, I went to a tennis match. After we finished playing, I tried to tell my partner something, and the words got stuck. For a week, I had a stutter that would go in and go out. I had lost my voice. I got it back. So now that I have it back, I can see that I do have control. Not a lot, but I have some. I can't control how people see me, but I can control what they hear from me. I have my voice back, and now I'm going to use it because I took it for granted until it was gone. I experienced racism on this campus. I don't feel safe on this campus. We talk about these things and all these things that happen to us. Good that we're talking, good that we're making a statement, good that things are coming out. But now, the next step is not only taking action, but actually telling the people who have offended you that they offended you. So, I will start doing that. I'm not attacking people, I'm just saying what happened. Dean Hayward, at the panel, there was a question raised that how can the panel be taken seriously on the topic of diversity and inclusion if the panel lacks just that? I guess in order to get the tension out of the room, he said, just because we don't look diverse, we are committed to diversity. But we do have an Italian American on the panel. After you said that, I literally laid down in my chair. I laid down because I lost respect for the person that was supposed to have like the biggest voice on campus. I lost respect for you. You got it back when you came here, you sat and listened, so good job. You've redeemed yourself in my eyes, that probably doesn't say much of the loneliness too. But words are powerful. I laid down because I felt like I had been shot. Someone raised a question, it wasn't answered, they moved on. Another thing that happened at panel, we were talking about the blue lights and how they're not effective, nobody uses them. I raised my hand and asked, I used my voice, I asked it out loud. Do you think that the blue lights aren't useful or effective because of their placement? The answer was, well, people have phones nowadays, so they're not using the blue lights. download this Live Safe app that you keep pushing? The answer to that was even a dumb phone can be programmed to call 911. Again, I have been shot. I laid down again. I died twice at the piano. I died twice because I spoke up. When you speak, there's a target on your back. When you speak, you look people in the eyes of the target on your front. I'm surrounded by people who have the ability to shoot me. Here I am. Shoot me. President Guerin, you wrote down my name today. And I got scared as hell. Oh my God, you know my name now? I'm gonna get kicked out of school. They gonna tell my mama I'm gonna beat my ass. I already paid for this semester. You gonna go get my money back? Well, here I am. So if anybody needs to know whose name is on this, who's starting the movement, who's behind it, put my name on it. They got my name. I'm the black girl on the tennis team. That one black girl. I live in Freer. My last name is Simmons. My first name is Jerry. My middle name is Janelle. JJS. It's kind of cute. I'm speaking now. I made a joke to my friends in a group chat back home. Like, today is our stand up to the man rally. Wish me luck, because now they gonna know who I am. I was like, oh, now I get to expose myself to the campus administration and everybody. I get to expose myself as the Michelle Luther X that I really am. Michelle Obama, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X. Michelle Obama because I think I'm kind of easy on the eyes and I will put my name on what I believe. Martin Luther King Jr. because I will protest peacefully. I'll play by the rules. I'll go at it with forums first, with talks. With Malcolm X because I require a change to be made. This is not a suggestion. Don't take 6 years to make something of this talk. Don't just mention it to cabinet. Say the words. Don't say derogatory slurs. Say nigger with an R, not nigga because it's cool. Call me a monkey. Tell them that they call me monkeys. Tell them that I am a candy coon. Let me dance for you. This is me. I'm here. I'm ready. Shoot me if you want to. Quite frankly, I don't give a damn. I'm here. I'm ready. Put my name on it. Don't tell my mama yet. I can open that. I'm gonna send a video. So, mama, that's what I did. I said nigga in front of the president of the college. She gonna be mad. I'm gonna be mad because they mad. But here we go. I'm ready. Let's make a change. Let's make a change together. The information comes out. The voices came out. We told our stories. The stories have to come out. Student up. Action has to be made. The administration down. Because we don't have the power. We give you the power. But we're taking some of it back now. Don't take 6 years. Time is ticking. You don't have much time because we're ready. A change is coming whether you like it or not. The population on this campus is changing, and if the institution doesn't change, then we will become Ferguson. We will become Chicago. We will become whoever is writing and blah, 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 blah. But we'll play by the rules first. We'll do it peacefully. We'll give you a chance. We're giving you a chance. We've spoken. This is an open dialogue. People talk. Other people listen. The listening person, you listen, process what has just been said to them, thinks of it, prays on it maybe, and then speaks out back to the person that just spoke to them. We've spoken. Give me something back. I did my job as your attorney. We've done the talking, you've done the listening. Now let's flip the script. Is your turn to talk? Our turn to listen. What are you going to say?
Giving me the opportunity to hear you and not be sitting up on the stage. And thank you for delaying this a day because I was out of town and wouldn't be here if you'd done it the previous night. So thank you. Thanks for doing that. Now I really want to thank everybody that came, including faculty and staff and our board chair who's here, had an opportunity to hear it all soon. This is really an opportunity, and I talked to some of y'all before we started. And I was taking your names so I know who to call and say we're ready to start doing some things, and we're going to do it together. We're not going to do this as a single group. We're going to do it together because that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do is do it together. So we're going to get together. We've been listening. We're going to listen some more and talk some more and make some plans and do some things. And I'm not here just to talk. I'm here to do, but I'm here to listen first. So I just want to say, Taekwondo, technique comes from Hamida, 25 years. Really? Yes. So I'd like to talk to you about other things that you said. And I would really like for individuals who are here tonight to come into the office. There's no reason you ever got to be afraid of Kenny G. Kenny G's here for you. I'm not around a lot because I'm on the road a lot. But it's easy to get to me in my office. It's easy to get to me. I'm right downstairs on the first floor. You come in that front door, you take a right, come right back through there, and I'm there. Now, I want to hear some more stories. I heard some stories. Sometimes I had trouble hearing and understanding everything that was said. And that's because you were feeling what you were saying. And maybe my hearing's not as good when I'm 76 years old as it was when I was 20. But I want to hear it. I heard some stories. I really felt good about some things that you said, and I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry for things that you've experienced that have made you feel not safe and have made you feel bad. I am sorry for that. And I would like us to do everything we can to change it, to change the culture. I didn't know all the things that were happening, but you've told me now. I heard a little bit of it, and I felt after that, when we were up on the panel, that we had just not heard the story. And I went to my cabinet a couple of days later and said, we've got to have more, because we didn't hear it all. There's a lot more there. So I'm glad you informed me. I'm glad you took this time to do it. I also want to say that when I walk into the dining hall sometime, I would love for somebody to just raise your hand and say, got a seat here. I'd love for you to come sit down with me and enjoy a meal with me. I love that opportunity. So the first person, when I walk in that dining hall, and I'll be coming in tomorrow, first person to raise their hand and got a seat there, I'm going to come sit by you. Because I figure I'd like to talk to you. But I want to hear you. I want to hear more stories. And I want to take a little Burrell. I want to hear some more out of you too, from your stories. I really enjoyed it. But I was writing down names and I couldn't catch all the names because I'm trying to listen and trying to write at the same time. And I usually like to sit and listen to someone first and then write. I was trying to do both of them at the same time. But I want to thank y'all for talking to me tonight. I was listening to every word you said, every word I could hear. I was hearing a lot of words. I heard it. I heard a lot. I heard a lot. But it's there's more to be done. But we're going to do it together. We're going to do it together. I don't come just to walk around. I don't keep working at Lynchburg College because I don't want to do stuff. I could retire a long time ago. But I love you. I love you. I'll say it to you. I love you. I love you. I want you to feel safe. I want you to feel good about what you do, about what you feel here. I want you to leave this place and say, this was a home for me for a while. So we're going to get it. We're going to get it so it feels that way. We're going to take us all together to do it. And not everybody's in the room. I realize that. And some people had to go, and I realize that too. But we can spread it. We can spread it. We'll all do our pieces. We'll all do it together. And we can do some stuff. Okay? You going to do it with me? Are you? Let me hear it. All right. Thank you.
I've been working on these issues my entire freaking life. I don't know if any of us are old enough to remember what happened in Boston in 1976 when they were dealing with high schools and the students were being bused. And I went with my friends who were black and white, and we were driving down the street, and they had barrels where they were burning trash, and the guys had swastikas on their arms. And so we in our car turned around and drove away. And I was the only white person in the car with 5 black people. And they turned to me and said, "You better hope we get away fast because they're going to come after you first." And that was when I was 20. And I'm weeping because it hasn't changed enough. I've been watching the news and Black Lives Matter, and I worry about how to bring it up in class so that we can talk about it and become collaborators on making a difference. And it's very hard to feel like we're making a difference. It can be as helpless as a professor as it is for the student. And so, I'm sorry for crying. I don't ever cry for me. I'm always crying for someone else. Pretty embarrassing. So I would like to ask you to help me help you. I would like to ask you to visit me, to tell me your stories before they're so grievous, and we have to try and get people's attention in such extreme ways, right? So I think that there are many friends that I have amongst the professors who truly, passionately desire to befriend you and support you and let you cry on our shoulders so we can cry with you without an excuse. So you know how that goes. So I'm not that unique. I've just been working at it as hard as I can for a very long time. So thank you.
Okay, so I will be the last story and then we'll get out of here. I know you're tired, you're hungry, I am too. It's been a very long evening, and that's a good thing because there's been a lot of stories that's been said and there's been a lot of conversations that's been started because of this. My story, so growing up, all right, I'm going to give a background of who I am first. I am African American, very light skinned because my mom came from Africa, Senegal, Cape Verde region. And she immigrated here when she was a teenager and got her citizenship. My dad was born in the Bronx, New York. Don't ask me how they met each other, I don't know. They just did, and then I was born. So yeah. Growing up, I have seen a lot of things. I've witnessed a lot of things. I've experienced a lot of things. One thing that I know stuck to my mind is that my dad is a cop in law enforcement, and he is black. For those of you who know where Glasgow, Virginia is, you know, just an hour up the road. And I'm sure that this is still where it is. That town is a very racist town. It is a small town, but it is a racist town. My dad was the only town sergeant there, and so he was in control of the entire place. There is a railroad that goes through the city, and the railroad separates black from white. And I think my family was the only family that even tried to go over into the white side. There was one incident where we were woken up, we opened the door and there was a pile of shit on the front door, for those of you who know the connotation. not really a neighbor. She was up the hill. She lived kind of like up the hill in the backyard, and we would always see her looking out her window with binoculars, and she would always come by on our street, always looking at us. And there's been a lot of, and my family was really hated there. Growing up, people don't know who I am, because not only am I African American and mixed, but I'm also gay. And being gay was very, very difficult to get through, especially in middle school and high school, because I've been beaten up, I've been called faggot, I've been called fudge packer, I've been called ass white. But the big thing is that I was actually raped, and I was raped by people who I thought was my friends in the swim club, but they weren't, obviously. And ever since then, I've grown up to be, but I never spoke out about that. And so growing up, I've always been asked, I've always been discriminated against because I've been gay and because I'm also black. So, you know, the double whammy just never, just always happened. Getting into here, I've become, getting later into high school and coming here, I've been a very big advocate for equality. I'm a political science and history double major, and if you know me, you know that my lifetime goal is to become president of the United States. And so, being that I'm very big on dealing with tough issues, very advocated for making, speaking about the uncomfortable things, talking about it, making more enemies than friends, but you know, that's always fun. And really setting up the issues and really trying to tackle them, because these issues, as I see them, should not be as they are. There should not be discrimination against race. There should not be discrimination against LGBT. There should not be discrimination against who's richer and who's not. It just shouldn't be that way, but it is. And I want to help deal with these issues. And doing that, I've become, I guess, a resource for people to go to. And I'm glad that I am. Because growing up, I did not have a lot of people to go to. And I'm glad that this college, and I'm glad I came to the college, because I do call this college home. Because I had to run away from my family last winter break because my parents did not like who I was. So I am on my own, but I've been making it on my own. And as probably one of the overly involved people on campus, I do get myself in a lot of stuff, even though I know I shouldn't be. But I digress. There are a lot of people who do care on campus. And that's important, because if you feel like you're alone, you're not. There are people here that's pretty much, it's in their job description to deal with this type of stuff every day. And I know personally from having conversations with them, they're angry about that this wasn't brought up before. But it has now, and that's the most important thing. Understand that there are people like me that you can go to. There are people like Pat and Ed, but they're not. But you shouldn't just go to them all the time. There are other people here too. There are people in residence life. There are people in the student development. There are people in academic affairs, academic achievement. There are people in SAB. There are all sorts of people who care. Your professors, most of them care. I mean, most of them care. There are some who don't, but that's a different story. But most of them do care, and it's important for everyone to speak up. If you don't feel comfortable speaking to a professor or anyone else, speak to me. I'm an RA in Tate, first floor, so I have had to deal with this. I've had to deal with these incidents, and I'm just there. I mean, my door is usually open all the time. I have conversations all the time. People say hi, say hi. On my whiteboard, it says Mark is so cool, and people always that this was happening on campus, but it saddens me that no one knew about this. And so I'm glad that this is here. I'm glad that all of you came, that you all took notes. And like Jerica said, and like many others have said, they're expecting action. So so sit down. I'll come to the meetings. I don't care. I'll sit there with you guys. I don't care. If it's 8 in the morning, maybe. Because I don't like waking up early. But I mean, I will be there. I will do my best to get there. But we need to have these conversations. We need to make plans of actions. We need to do this. This is important. This is important because students are here to get an education, not worried about if they're going to be safe or not. They shouldn't be worried about if their professor actually cares about them or not, or if they feel discrimination. You're here, we're here, we paid this money to help you. I mean, to get the education, not worry about everything else. I mean, without us here, the staff and faculty, they wouldn't have paychecks. So, you know, we have to have some expectation as students, and we have to really make a voice. And for the students, we're already starting on a lot of big things, but there will be much more calls to action from us for the faculty to see, and we'll figure that out later. But there are already starting plans. So know that they are hearing you. Know that I am hearing you as your advocate, as one of your advocates, as one of your many advocates. We're here. We're able to hear you. Keep speaking. Keep speaking loudly. Do it. Don't hide, because it's important. Tell your friends to not hide. Tell them to say something. You can say something to someone, anyone. Don't think that they're powerless. You are empowered because you paid this $46,000. Okay?
You're empowered because you're students at Lynchburg College, and my door is open to you. You are empowered. Okay?
You're empowered.
Know that.
You're just, you are a student.
I want you.
All right. So now we're done. Enjoy the rest of your evening.